You're gonna see some serious shit.
It is the future. The year 2015. Okay, it's not as cool as we were promised, but it's not that different really. Instead of Jaws 19, we get Terminator Jenny CCs. It's the same thing really. We need to make a future for ourselves. A future where film lovers make film podcasts about why they love film. Where we stay positive no matter what the next batshit crazy Fantastic Four reboot rumor is. Come on guys, Star Wars and Mad Max are coming back. Brad Bird's got another movie out. Pixar have too. Stick with us folks and you'll always see the bright side of movies. Don't mind the title, it's just ironic. Welcome to Movie Moan 2015! Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Movie Moan 2015. I'm not going to do intros tonight, I'm going to treat this show the way George Miller treats a movie. Where there's no time for setup and things, it's just all go, go, go. So my name's Phil, that's Jamie, that's Matt Thompson. Hi Matt, how are you?
I'm good. We shouldn't talk, let's just gesture, just like the movie.
Exactly. So, Jamie, how are you?
My name is Max.
And that's all I have to say. Vroom!
Actually, there's the shot where he's holding the gun at the girls. He's like, he kind of waves at them or points at them. I thought that reminded me most of Mel Gibson's Mad Max. That was, I don't know about you guys. That was like that's just like Mel. Like I thought that was like that. And it was
really channeled him to the point where he was hating Jews on set. He really
he was like making.
Okay, I'm gonna cut that shit short right now so we can have the intro to Classic Movie Moon. Let's just get to the friggin' movie. So, to steal a line from film critic Leonard Moulton, whoa, did someone get the license plate of that movie? I think in the interest of good manners, we should let Matt lead the charge here because, as I think some of you know, because I think we've said it on air, Matt saw this movie many moons ago, and I really feel bad that he's had to wait this long to talk about the thing. So, Matt, if you may, if you could talk first of all just about when you saw it, what state it was in when you saw it, and how close it was to the finished product for all the listeners.
Well, I saw it 10 months ago. It was July of 2014. It was relatively close cut-wise. I think really the only difference is, and again, this is my nearly year difference memory, so I could be wrong, but I think they added a couple character beats, namely with Nicholas Hoult. And then they really bumped up Max's kind of flashbacks to the girl and everyone he kind of failed in life. Those were in the cut I saw, but they weren't nearly as prevalent. And then also, obviously, the music is new, and that music is awesome. But just the state of the film, even as early as it was, it actually played really well because so much of the film isn't CGI. I mean, things are comped. So the cut I saw, you'd see wires on people. You'd see the occasional blue screen, like when Max is hanging around when they're outside the Citadel at the beginning of the movie. But most of the movie was there. I mean, the only shots really of vehicles that were CGI in the cut I saw were when you'd have the camera 1,000 feet high looking down at giant masses of vehicles. Otherwise, everything is there. They're not lying when they say that. Everything is there. People on wires.
Was the storm sequence there?
Yeah, the storm sequence wasn't just there. It was done.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think because I saw it right after that first Comic-Con trailer went out, to the point where I was disappointed because in the cut I saw, that shot that I love of Max kind of giving the little thumbs up that he gives to the wife in the final cut, that wasn't in the version I saw, and I was all disappointed because I loved it. I loved the little character moment of there. So luckily it's back in the movie now. But just, in the 10 months since I've seen it, I really liked it the first time, but now with the effects finished, with the score finished, with the sound mixing done, because the first time I saw it, we couldn't really understand a lot of what Tom Hardy said. But with all that done, I mean, I really liked it the first time. I loved it this time. I thought it was amazing.
Jamie?
I'm not really big into the Mad Max movies. Like, I watched them as a kid, but I was not particularly religious with the trilogy. My opinions, I mean, I think the first two were pretty good, although I'm that guy. Once the dog gets it in Road Warrior, part of me kind of tuned out. I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of like, I don't give a shit. You killed the dog. I'm not kidding. Like,
no, I believe
that really upset me. I did. But boy, this is, Phil, you used a quote. A quote you liked, and I'm going to use one too. This is the stuff that dreams are made of, man.
Oh, you little poet, you.
This is the kind of film that it fuels you to want to make movies, to love and appreciate the genre. And, I've been a budding filmmaker for years and have a number of failed attempts, and I watched this, and among other things, it convinced me that I have to get back on the saddle for real.
You need to make more masturbation videos. You can really improve your craft.
Exactly. I can really come much better than I usually do. I was speechless when the movie was over, guys. It is such a draining experience, and yet I wanted more. And I don't have this attitude of saying everyone's like, well, God, will they do another one? And some people have complained, not many actually, to be fair, about how it got beaten by Pitch Perfect 2 this weekend. And my attitude is, one, who cares? Like, this is a part 4.
It still did well.
It did as well as it could have done. It actually, given all the circumstances, it did great. I'm not even going to say well, it did great. And it's a part 4. So you can't really expect, these are some, I'm flabbergasted about what to say. I did keep thinking of Roger Ebert, actually, Phil, because I know how much he loved the Mad Max movies, and I remember his glowing review for Beyond Thunderdome, and he talked about how much imagination was in that movie, and it reminded him of movies like The Wizard of Oz, and I kind of, not only did I think of Mr. Ebert when I was watching at the beginning of this movie, it was particularly during. And I don't have the names down, so guys, don't laugh at me, but you guys can fill in the blanks for me. And I mean you, the viewer, but also Phil and Matt right next to me. Like, when the bad guy is going through, like, I guess his chambers, and you see, like, the green room, and you see, like, this room full of women who are being milked, and I thought, besides how shocking it is, I thought, this is world building. Like, we use that word so... Like, 2 years ago, they really used that word to an almost masturbation level for Pacific Rim. But this is what you call world building, where there's so much...
No, just the world doesn't stop, like, at the edges of the frame. I mean, you just believe the world keeps going beyond what you see. And that's
Yes, and there is such detail to to all of this stuff that's going on, one of the joys that it will be for me to see it a second time will be to get a little bit more of, okay, what's that about? That is so interesting and different and unique, and it has my attention that you can make a film about that. Like the fact of the wives, like what, I mean, like, are all these people, this guy's children, like literally, not figuratively, because this is clearly a cult. I mean, the idea of what are they called? War boys? What are those called?
That's what they are.
The war boys.
The war boys. The concept, which again, Miller and whoever else wrote this movie, there's another writer credited, and I apologize, I don't know the gentleman's name.
There are two. It's Brendan McCarthy and Nick Latouris,
who deserve just as much credit because there's so much detail and they clearly thought this shit out. Like the idea of what the war boys are. Even Max, I mean, I tell you, I was really enthralled with this movie in the opening chase sequence. I know, not the opening chase sequence, but like when he's already been captured and he busts out and then is running down the corridor and he sees, I guess that's supposed to be his daughter, haunting him, and he's losing his mind, and then like he opens the door and like, he almost falls up and like he jumps on. I mean, I was so into it at that point. I was so enraptured. I didn't know where it was going, although this actually is very, very faithful to, if you've seen the other Mad Max sequels, narratively speaking, you know where it's going to go, and it does not upset. But that's not a big deal. This is simple good in the sense that, it's a chase movie. Matt, you were saying that a year ago. You said, guys, it's a 2-hour chase movie, ostensibly. That's exactly
it's one
what
chase
it is.
The whole time.
Yeah. And they're going to point A to point B, spoiler alert, they get to point B and have to go back to point A. But it's enthralling, and simple can be good. I think sometimes we put too much thought into plot. And the thing is that by having a very basic plot story, Miller could then say, okay, this is the narrative, these are the beats I have, and now I could put all the detail on how I'm going to accomplish this. And yeah, this is very much dictated on action and movement, not dialogue, because it's pretty safe to say that the script for this movie was mostly detailed. A lot of prose, not much dialogue. In fact, I think Charlize Theron probably has the most dialogue in this movie.
I actually think Nicholas Hoult probably does.
Or Nicholas Hoult, yeah. Or the bad guy. He might, no, he doesn't, no. Who's the villain's name, by the way?
Immortan Joe.
Great villain, by the way. Great setup. Like, just that they won with that design. I go back to something Phil said about Wall-E. He said they knew they had it when they finalized that design for that little guy. You look at that little guy and go, I care about this little guy and I want to see what happens to him.
It's quite a comparison you're making there between those two chaps. But yeah, I'll go with it.
Can that be the quote of this entire podcast? Is Imogen Joe reminds me of Wall-E.
Yes, I'll go for that.
Jamie Williams, thinkmyflythink.com. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wanted to, first of all, just clarify something for people who haven't seen it yet, because I just want to make something quite clear about when we talk about it being a 2-hour chase movie. I think some reviews that I've read certainly were a little bit inaccurate and made me go into it expecting it to be literally 1 2-hour continuous chase. It is not that. I don't think I would have enjoyed the film as much as I did if it was that. The human body could only concentrate for so long without blinking. So it is what it is, actually, is a perfectly structured action movie. It has set pieces where you see the money on the screen. They are long but not excessive. They are absolutely relentless and bludgeoning, but they know when to stop. And when they stop, there is actual development of character. Every frame of the film moves the story forward. There is a very much kind of I credit George Miller with this, but also, before I saw the Mad Max movies, of course, we were used to seeing the Terminator movies where you have a story told on the move, and the only time they're not moving is when they've run out of gas, or the truck's beaten to shit, or whatever it might be, but it always still feels like it's on the move. But it does pause for breaks. I think what Miller reminds me of, certainly in this film, that really puts a lot of people to shame is the It is about pace. For example, the real moment that clarified it for me was that I knew going into it that, okay, Immortan Joe has these concubines, these wives of his who have been stolen away from him by Furiosa, because I saw that moment in the trailer. Where has she taken them? But I was expecting before that happens about 5 minutes worth of, them being around him, and we see their miserable lives and they're massaging his nipples and warts or whatever he makes them do. But it's not there. It's just like, we don't even meet them before they're gone, because it's all about, it's just about, look, we're telling a story, you're in the middle of it, just like Max. We're not slowing down for you. We're not telling you the story from the beginning. And this is how it all began. It's just like, try and keep up, chaps. Try and keep up, because this is what storytellers do in film. Films are motion pictures. They're supposed to move. And I just, again, it's like, it's 2 hours. It does feel like 90 minutes. It's a cliched line to say that, but it really, really does. And I was just blown away by the storytelling of it. The fact that, I get it. We should also, point out at this point that it is one of those movies which could be conceived, certainly compared to its competition, as weird, in inverted commas, because it does have characters who are practically speaking another language. They speak English, but every other word seems to be, a different, a word that we've not heard before, but a word that is obviously common tongue to these people, but it creates a world. And you really have to kind of keep up with it and try and figure out what the heck's going on. But it all just... it works. It just clicks. It works. I really loved the movie. And the only thing... I literally only have one tiny question about it, guys. I understood all of it, but I've got one question, which I'm hoping you can answer. It's at the climax of the movie when the heroes have returned and they show the body of Immortan Joe. Oops, sorry, I'm spoiling. Did I say there was a spoiler discussion, folks? Sorry about that. So, they're taken over, and, the character who I was probably the most fascinated by, which is this little deformed baby chap.
Yes!
I don't even know how they did it. Actually, do you know what? I say I want to know how they did it. I actually don't want to know. I want the magic to stay. I don't know what it was. I don't know how they did it. But all I do know is that it really feels like it's being set up that the kids are going to pick him up and just throw him off the fucking cliff. And it doesn't happen. And I was kind of stroking my chin about that. I don't know. Maybe I just want violence where there is none.
They're under rule of this tyrant, and that they're, I guess,
But they're not, though. They're free, aren't they? I don't... That's literally the only bit I think.
I didn't know. I didn't know if they were going to treat these newcomers, if they were going to be mortified to see their god being murdered, but clearly they're overjoyed that he's dead.
Yeah. You got that in the moment where they were looking up at baby man, basically wanting the lift thing to come down, and he doesn't do anything, and then the kids run over and turn it. So even though they don't throw him off, it's clear that any rule he has is over.
No,
and you talk about, Phil, about like moments that you go like, I don't want to know how they did that. The scene where they perform, I guess you'd say it was a C-section on one of the wives.
Yeah, on Rosie.
On Rosie, and all you see, and again, this is a case where you convey so much by saying so little in terms of effectiveness. All you see is the dead baby's legs, and it's not even within full frame. And then you see him take the umbilical cord and kind of flip it around like a toy. I thought that was more horrifying than anything else you could have imagined. And then followed by the line, "He was a baby. I had a baby brother, and he was perfect." Like, I know.
No, I would really like to point out to listeners that as we talk about flipping umbilical cords and everything, the cut of this I saw in July was PG-13. It was clearly intended for PG-13. We didn't see umbilical cords flipped around like toys. We didn't see jaws ripped off. So someone should credit Warner Brothers because they took a movie they could have sold to a bigger audience and actually put out a harder version. So good for them.
I agree. And by the way, just on that point, I literally didn't see that coming. If you have I'm not going to say a marquee star, but someone who people, I think, still recognize, because she's a beautiful woman and she was the best thing in that Transformers movie. They killed Rosie! You can't do that!
That was her? Oh my god!
She has a name?
Well, she has a name. I do forget it, Evan Beck.
I didn't realize that was her, really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
that was from Transformers 3.
Yeah, Rosie Huntington.
She was actually, I will say, the Transformers series is not very good, but I actually thought she was fine in it. So.
We did. We called her out on that at the time. We said, look, I don't think she has any desire to be an actress. I think she just was, there because she was asked to. But if she wants to, she's got potential. And I'm not going to say, oh, she gives an amazing performance in this movie. Let's keep things in perspective. She is equal to all the other characters, the other wives of Immortan Joe. But still, it means something. It's clearly, that is audience manipulation there, and I love it. You rarely, at no point do you know where this is going to go, because this is a movie that doesn't play by the morality rules of other things. There is, when she falls from the truck and she gets run over with a newborn baby about to give birth, at that point in the movie, you just don't know, okay, what are they going to do? Whatever they're going to do, it's probably not going to be safe. It's probably not going to be what we expect. But whatever it is, by the way, it's not going to be gratuitous. It is going to be in service of storytelling. And boy, is it. I mean, Mike, I'm not ashamed to say it. I cared more deeply about the bad guys than I did about the heroes. And I hope people understand what I mean by that. But, they are, I'm not going to say they're decent people, but they are people who do respect life. They were keeping these ladies for a reason. If they were given Immortan Joe a child, he was going to groom it. Yes, he was going to groom it up to be a psychopath, just like them. But still, it would have been a good life. And, they would have treated it well. And they respected the power of life, and they saw it just drain away right then and there, and they felt for it. And this character, Hugo Keys-Byrne, I believe is the actor's name, who plays Immortan Joe. Again, he's got the Bane problem. He's got this mask on. All he can do is emote from his eyes, but you feel it in that scene. That's my favorite
challenge.
In the movie.
Yeah, challenge that comes across, and yet they're able to nail it. In fact, nail it so well that it looks easy. You think anybody can do that? Just like when you saw Dark Knight Rises, and we're just like, oh, go ahead, man, I'm sorry.
No, I want to credit the film for its nonverbal storytelling. I mean, so much of it isn't dialogue. It's not, I like this person, or I care about this person. It's just the way characters relate to each other. I mean, on one end, we have, Max and Furiosa, like that wonderful moment with the sniper rifle, when he's trying to shoot out the light, and he stops, hands it to her, she puts it on his shoulder. That's a huge character beat. No dialogue, straight through. But even smaller moments, I mean, Phil, you talking about the villains. One of the things that really took me the second time is that war boy who rides with Charlize Theron when she takes the convoy, who keeps asking her about, like, these guys, are they backup, whatever, and he's with her until the point where he realized she's actually betrayed them.
Yeah.
And he has a sense of actual betrayal, and I felt kind of bad for him.
I love that bit.
He's a loyal soul. He's a loyal soldier, too, because he's sitting there going like, all right, so what are we doing? Like, hey, what's up?
Whatever bad these people do, and a lot of these are very bad people, I felt like, as weird as they were people. I love the banker guy who was keeping tabs of all of the resources they were spending. I mean, it just made it feel as crazy as this universe is, but it made it feel real. It grounded it.
I love how they talk about, you were talking about world building before, but I love how they talk about these places like Bullet Town. I want to go to Bullet Town, but we never get to go.
It plays in your mind. Where is Bullet Town? And again, I'm going to vote Mr. Ebert. It does remind you of movies like Wizard of Oz and Star Wars, where they describe these times, these places. Oh, you fought in the Clone Wars. You're like, what's that? Like, we're not, going to make an obligatory joke about that, obviously, but it's like, it's stuff like that makes you go, wow, like, I want to know everything now. And of course, it's even better that we don't know, because anything that plays in our mind is better than what we could have ever imagined. And I'll use another example of the world building was them describing, what was the name of the city in the Matrix, the underground city?
Zion.
That's another one that reminds me of, like, you're kind of like, what's that?
Unfortunately, we found out.
But that's my point, though. We found out, and we go, boy, our imagination was so much better than what they did. But that's beside the point. And I feel like Miller is a good enough not a good enough filmmaker. He's a smart enough filmmaker to say, if I do another one of these, we're not going there. We're going to do something else.
That's one thing. People keep talking about sequels. Will this movie get a sequel? On one hand, I really don't care. This
is a sequel.
But I mean, it's a complete movie in and of itself. I don't need another movie after this. I don't feel this movie is validated by whether there is another one or not. But at the same time, I do wonder, what else has George Miller got in his mind? Like, I'm excited by the possibility of what else he might think is cool in this world.
I'm going to quote another friend of ours, Mr. Nordling, Alan.
Have some of your own ideas, Jamie. Quit quoting people.
I can't, I know, but he said he hopes that this movie is successful enough so that Warner Brothers or any other studio will just give that man a blank check, do what you want. And I said, that's not really going to be an issue, sir. But it's funny because you look at his career, he's always been able to do that. For the most part, I can't think of. You look at the kind of diverse career this man has had, and you realize most people would kill to have a career like that as a director. And he's not mentioned. Well. He is never mentioned in the same breath of a Spielberg or a Lucas or any of these guys. And shame on us for not doing so. And maybe that's one of the maybe that is the greatest asset of virtue of this movie and its success is that it will cause us all to go back and realize. What we always had in front of us, we took advantage of it.
Are people going to suddenly start grieving George Miller's Justice League movie?
Some people
it's already happening.
Some already have, and that's a case where you kind of just laugh and go, you're balled up in the hype at this moment because the script was terrible, okay? Just get over it. It was going to be a disaster. That's why they canceled it. But you notice they didn't cancel Mad Max. They made it. So, putting it out there. In fact, this movie's been canceled several times, and it only kept getting canceled for economic reasons, not because the script needs work. In fact, I remember I was lamenting this to a good friend of mine last night about this movie was a go 12 years ago when I was a senior in high school, and they had sets built in Morocco ready to go. Mel Gibson was going to play him again. I think he was going to get he was going to get paid he had signed on. He was going to get like $40 million for it. It was a huge amount of money. We went to war, and this is at the point where studios were canceling productions in Middle Eastern countries. Unless you were in Australia or the UK, and your production was canceled, and you were coming back home. Remember that? And this was one of the movies that suffered from that.
I remember in one of it must have been the first iteration of the podcast that me and Jamie did, where I distinctly remember us talking about it with Lou, who of course was just absolutely dying to see it. And at the time it was going to be two movies, I remember that. It was going to be Fury Road and Furiosa. Can
I spoil something about that a little bit?
Hey.
I had heard, because they have changed some details obviously, but the decision to make it into two movies was later on. The one when it was going to be Gibson was just straight up Fury Road. I think it's safe to say more or less the movie that we got. Originally, the idea was that he was going to get killed at the end of Mad Max, at the end of Fury Road, and that Furiosa would be about her. She would take the ring.
Charlize went on record and said Furiosa was supposed to be like an animated side movie.
Well, it's interesting because the other thing, a lot of credit to this movie, is that how everyone stuck to it. Because this movie was supposed to go several times, but particularly these actors have been attached for a couple of years.
They shot this in 2012.
Yeah.
Right. He was doing press for Dark Knight Rises, and they finally started filming. And I remember he had that big beard. He said, "Oh, yeah, it's for Mad Max 4." In fact, Nicholas Hoult got the X-Men franchise specifically because the production got canceled and he needed a job. And
in 2010, right?
That's right.
That's crazy.
With Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. So, it's amazing that 5 years later the movie came out.
Well, swinging it just back to the movie, there was a couple of other things I wanted to mention, because we've been talking a lot about the world building. I don't think I've ever, well, no, I'm not going to say ever, but it has been a long time since I have felt such a clear sense of geography in a world. It is one thing to build a world, but oftentimes when you're doing that kind of thing, it's all about, making it so big that you can't see the ends of it, that you can't actually, we don't tell you everything. It's huge. We can't possibly talk about everything. But actually, I felt myself that in Fury Road, it was exactly the opposite. They have a very, very clear sense of geography. Everything starts at where they live at Immortan Joe's lair, and then there's a lot of road, and then there's the big canyon, and then there's a lot more road, and there's probably Bullet Town to the side there, and then there's the swampland, which, turns out to be the green place that they were trying to get to, and then there's a bit more road, and then
as nothing.
Yeah, as Max so poetically says, about 160 miles that way, nothing but salt. And that's it. That's the world. So frankly, I don't see why there should be another one, because as far as I'm concerned, that's all that's left of the world, and we've been across.
To be fair, it's Australia. So what if they left the country?
It would be exciting though. I think in terms of sort of an adventure thing, is Max said it was 160 days of nothing, not even 160 miles.
Beg your pardon. That's right. Yes.
So I wonder, you could almost make something exciting of someone setting out there and just seeing what weird shit they could find. Now that said, by the way, just to close this off, I found the quote. This is from George Miller, talking about Mad Max Furiosa. The dream wasn't a conflation of two stories. We were going to do Furiosa as an anime before it was delayed a second time when we were rained out of Australia. But because we were delayed, that didn't happen, and so we've got that script and we've got another one.
There we go.
George Miller. So.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to say, which may open up a debate, may not, but I certainly hope that I'll get some comments back from you guys in the comment section. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because I may be way out on a limb here, but I just want to say this, is that I love the movie, we all love the movie here, but I think some really sweeping statements are being made right now, and I really do think we need to keep it in our pants just a little bit.
The feminism discussion.
Not that. No, of course not. That's not what I'm referring to. God, I don't want to get into that. Don't turn this into Gamergate, Jamie. You're trying to turn everything into Gamergate. You don't even know what Gamergate is.
There is a big pro-feminist movie without bringing attention to
I spent all night being attacked by men's rights activists. Let's not talk about feminism right now.
But
I thought it was a joke about the men. Wait, hold on. I thought the men's rights thing was a joke. Really?
No. This was a different thing. I've been on Twitter. I made a comment to someone who was attacking men rights people, and I made a joke. And ever since then, I've been bombarded by men's rights activists talking about how women want to eradicate men. And then a feminist hating woman who told me she'd never sleep with me. And that's all my Twitter notifications have been for like the last 24 hours. Let's not talk about feminism.
Sorry. I didn't mean to send you all those tweets, Matt.
You, Jamie.
Anyway, what I meant by it was that I really don't see how, in my personal opinion, you can, after one screening of this, say that this is either one of the best action movies ever made, which is a pretty sweeping statement, or the greatest action movie you've ever seen. I really feel like we need to dial that back a bit. Now, it may very well be true, but I would like to think that we can at least give it a couple of weeks, months, maybe till the end of the year, to let it sit with us. Let us think about it, see it a few more times, make sure it holds up to scrutiny before we actually make those kind of statements. I really feel like the reactions to Mad Max Fury Road right now are systemic of what I like to call the 1 week culture, which is when a movie comes out and we do love it, that becomes everything. That becomes the center of our universe, and it immediately makes us forget about everything else for 1 week. And then immediately something else comes along and we move on to something else. And, you don't give movies the chance to let them sit with you. Now, right. I don't want to sound hypocritical here because, of course, the nature of what we're doing is, we are a review show, so we are giving you our gushing responses. I remember a couple of months ago I was gushing over Whiplash, and I can't remember, but maybe I'd said some things there that maybe right now I'd say, I should wait for the Blu-ray, then I'll make a comment again at the end of the year and see what I really think of it, see if it holds back. But I just feel like we just need to let it sit with us. I have no doubt, like Jamie said, I think Jamie summed it up beautifully in his opening statement. This is the kind of film that is going to inspire future filmmakers. It is the kind of thing that people are going to look back and say, I remember that as one of the best movie-going experiences I've ever had. I remember that as being the most exhausting theatre-going experience in my life. I'm sure all of these things will be true. But, guys, let's just wait. Let's let it stick. Let's make sure it holds up to scrutiny. And let's just keep ourselves a little bit of perspective on these things. Because, by the way, don't forget, there are some people who haven't seen it yet. And when you're saying things like this, you are putting the movie on an impossible pedestal. Which, by the way, the latest thing is, I'm sure it's meeting it for some people, but you cannot call it the best action movie ever made or one of for people who haven't seen it. It's unfair to the film, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone agrees with me on this.
No, I agree. And as I saw the reviews starting to come in, because I had seen the early cut, I said, oh no. Because suddenly people are going to walk into it expecting something that it's not. It's a very simple film. And I imagine the reviews are making people think it's weird to say this because of how big it is, but expecting a bigger film than it is. Just go on Twitter and search Mad Max overrated and but you'll see, hundreds of people, that movie was overrated. I can't believe what critics were thinking, blah, 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 blah. All because they walked into it expecting something. Calling it one of the best action films ever, blah, blah, blah. I've seen the film twice now with probably more of a separation than most of this planet can say. I can't say that. I have trouble comparing it to other films. All that I can say is that it was excellent.
Well said. Jamie?
The only thing I could really compare it to is the other movies, and I like this a lot more than the other movies. It doesn't make me want to reassess the original trilogy, to be honest. I can't wait to see it again. I'm pumped. I've talked to friends who've already seen it, a couple who've already seen it twice, and can't wait for their fourth viewing. Look, man, we are now, Phil, what you said about the short-term attention span is so true. And what's worse is that only used to be during summer. It's every weekend now because Hollywood wants they want summer all year long. And that's a problem. And it's one that will eventually bite them in the ass. And maybe it will lead to better things. But what I'm trying to get at is that you get a movie like this that is so well done, so great, you savor it. And I think for a lot of people, they feel that way too, where they know we're not going to get one of these. If we get another one of these in 5 years, we're lucky. I really mean that.
Oh, I just want to be clear
10,
that...
Yeah, 10, exactly, yeah. I mean, this is one of the few films that has truly lived up to the online hype, and that's saying something because we are used to movies being overpraised like hell, and probably 95% of the time it comes down to I got to see it first, so it's amazing. Because I could list with all of our hands, not just mine, with Phil and Matt's, the times where people gloat about a movie and the movie's garbage or it's just okay. So it's hard to say what the true movies that the game changers quote unquote are. Sometimes it's impossible to know. Look, not that I'm comparing it to it, but when they first screened Star Wars, what did everyone say? It was a disaster. Brian De Palma was saying, "George, your career's over. What the fuck did you do?" Like everyone else was being so nice to him because they didn't want to hurt his feelings, and De Palma was the one guy who respected enough to tell him the truth. And then Star Wars became Star Wars. Does that make De Palma the big fool, or I don't know. And I'm going to stop myself talking now.
No, that's okay. I mean, you were talking about comparisons. I honestly would. Someone's probably going to shout at me for this, but I thought a lot about Dredd while I was watching Mad Max Fury Road because that was a movie where it's fairly, as far as it being, just a tightly constructed, beautiful piece of storytelling that just works in every frame. You just go away from it going, I have nothing to add. I have nothing to say. It did it perfectly, and that's it. And we're all going to watch it, and that'll be top of the DVD chart for some months, and that's probably what's going to happen with Mad Max. Oh, of course, Mad Max is slightly different in the fact that it's actually done well. People have seen it in theatres, so that's nice to know. But when you talk about what the studios want, all of course I can comment on is what we should do, how we should react, what we have control over as audiences. It's something I am honestly conscious of every week, folks. You might not believe me, but I always am careful when I see a comedy film, for example. If it's like the funniest film I've seen all year, most of that's probably going to be due to the fact that I've seen it with a great crowd and I've had a great crowd experience. I will always make sure to tell you I really loved it. It was really funny. I'll tell you again how I feel when I've seen it on my own in my room. Or when I'm seeing, like, I was very conscious of it actually after Avengers 2, because I can tell you folks, if I was reviewing on this show Avengers 2 literally a few hours after I'd seen it the first time at the BFI IMAX with a really pumped up crowd, my review would be a little different. Not majorly so, but it would be a little different. I wouldn't have been as harsh and as penetrating as I was. I can promise you that. So, yeah. It makes me wonder sometimes whether we should just, I don't know, maybe we should just not review movies till like the month after. Maybe that'd be an innovative idea. But we can't do that, of course, because we have things to say. And they must be said now in as many characters as Twitter will let you. You know, and it's us. It's on us, this. And we just need to own it. We just need to be at least conscious of it. And let's just dial it back just a little bit. Okay, folks? That's all I'm saying. But if you want to say, no, Phil, you're wrong. The best movie ever made.
And on that note, Mad Max Fury Road is the greatest film ever made.
It really is.
This movie was amazing.
And on that note, we will move on to some fucking comic book movies, I guess. That's okay, you know. Why not? We always do. But
I didn't like Age of Ultron for the following reasons.
Well, no, it's true. No, we were just talking about this off air, but isn't it weird, folks, how, again, 1 Week Culture, who's talking about it? We've forgotten about that movie, haven't we? It's just not in the conversation anymore.
We forgot about it the weekend after.
And it's nothing to do with the movies that are coming out this weekend. It's all on that movie. Let's not blame Mad Max or anything else for this. It's just the movie as it is. Or it's us, because we just move on. I don't know what it is, actually.
No, I mean, it's the movie. I mean, there's a little bit of truth to that it's us as a culture. But then again, the first one came out 3 years ago when this attitude was very prevalent 3 years ago as well. And people spent the next... Not even the next month, really, up until Dark Knight Rises opened, that's all they talked about.
All right, folks. Well, let's move on. So you will have the pleasure of myself, Mr. Spencer Perry, and long overdue special guest star Elisabeth Rappe. We're all coming to join and talk about some comic book movies, hopefully give some equal treatment to Marvel and DC. It's hard, folks, but we do try. It's marveling at the future. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Marveling at the Future. You join me, Phil G. I'll be honest, folks, I'm still recovering 2 weeks on from that Ant-Man poster. I'm still in a little bit of trauma about that. That is the worst. I know we say this every time we see a Marvel poster, but no, seriously. I've kept my mouth shut on these things before, really, but seriously, folks, that is the worst poster I have ever seen for a movie I'm looking forward to.
It's pretty fucking bad. Like, Marvel's released 2 good posters. One was the Iron Man teaser that's just half the mask, and the other one is the Mandarin poster where he's like chilling in the big chair with the sunglasses.
So let me introduce folks. He'll be authoring Spencer's Soapbox on superherohype.com. Next week's article, that really was a terrible fucking poster. On other horrible posters through the ages, Mr. Spencer Perry, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, Phil?
Like I say, I'm just fucking... It's not... I hate complacency in marketing. These movies... Look, okay, maybe I get it for Avengers, even though I don't agree with it. These movies sell themselves. Ant-Man's not going to fucking sell itself. You need to put some effort into it. I literally thought it was a cracked article when I saw it, because it was the 2 Latin guys in the corner on the bottom right. I thought, is this 2 people's, friends that they've just put in there? I don't know what it is. Can I put my own face in there if I wanted to? I might as well be in it. I don't. Ugh. I'm in a bad mood right now. I'm sorry. I really am. It's just. I know there've been worse posters like that. You know, the X-Men First Class posters with the heads in the crotch and that.
Those are bad, yeah.
They're legendary. And that Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li, where they have the outline of Chun-Li fighting a silhouette and they try and put everyone's heads inside it. which really doesn't work because Kristen Krug's got a very slender figure, so you really can't put a head, especially what's his name's head, Chris Klein's head. Try putting Chris Klein's head in Kristen Krug's body. You check it out, folks. What's it? That site that's out there that they do I think it's movie poster awards. IMPawards.com. That's the one. Every year they have awards for the worst posters and stuff. And if Ant-Man doesn't qualify, well, my God, I can't wait to see what wins. Anyway, my rant aside, we also have a special guest tonight. Given the topic that we're going to discuss going forward, I would like to say that she has earned the right to be here tonight. The post that she has made about Captain America Civil War and where she'd like the story to go, I have found, no lie folks, extremely moving, prophetic, and it's just going to kill me when they don't happen. Well, maybe it will. We'll talk about them tonight. Will you please welcome the long overdue return of Miss Elisabeth Rappe. Hello.
Hello. Wow, that was a great intro. Like, I feel so flattered.
Got to live up to it now.
All right.
Fresh
Yeah.
on. So, folks, I thought the timing was right. Not only because, as usual, Spencer makes these great inspiring articles, Elizabeth makes these great inspiring tweets, but Captain America Civil War is happening right now as we speak. Of course, Marvel has made film mistake rule number 1, film outdoors. So we already know what fucking Crossbones looks like, which is something I was really looking forward to having, be built up. And God help, I just hope to God Baron Zemo doesn't step outside, because I'd really like that to be a surprise for the trailer. Call me crazy. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, Marvel has these. I guess they aren't as hardcore on the secrecy rules as say like Paramount and Abrams or like Star Wars and now Disney, but. Yeah, it's like, God, Marvel. What? Don't you know there's, like, telescopic lenses and stuff?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then, like, that looks like something somebody took on a phone. Like, he was just walking by, like, a Starbucks, and they were like, click.
Well, and even 2 years ago when they were filming Winter Soldier, and they were filming it out in the middle of the open. They were filming the scene where the Winter Soldier attacks Nick Fury's truck. And there were photos of the Winter Soldier floating around on the internet, but there were also photos of people standing next to him with signs saying, please don't take photos of this. You'll notice that there's no one holding those signs in the new set photos, because they were like, fuck it, they're gonna do it. Why are we filming outside?
And even before that, I remember that the first time we saw Malekith and the Dark Elves were from set photos, from spy photos. I remember that specifically.
And the Destroyer from the first Thor movie, that leaked like an hour after they started filming, because there was somebody like just saw it standing in the desert or something.
My God, Marvel, tarps. Yeah. Tarps are cheap. Just get some tarps and for these people.
And you could probably rent them from like the cops. Like you could probably be like, could we borrow some of those like walls you put up around crime scenes? And they'd probably be like, yeah, you could have them for $1. Can we have Captain America's autograph? And they'd be like, yes. Like that would be, you'd have a good deal there. Like,
I remember like the old days when it was like, I didn't have the internet back in '99, but I had like, I was reading like Wizard magazine and stuff, and they were talking about how, on the set of the X-Men, like they were wearing coats. So you couldn't see the costumes. They'd wear their coats when they went outside, and then they'd walk in the set, and you wouldn't see them. You'd see the hair, maybe, but you wouldn't see the costumes. And, and it was an event when I saw these things. Oh, it's a lost art. What can we
really
say?
is.
So anyway, folks, the reason I wanted to talk about Captain America Civil War specifically was because obviously we are also dealing with this, I guess you'd call it, fallout from Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, I personally don't have huge depressed feelings or feel that my heart's been broken because I didn't enjoy the movie personally. I've been very, very clear about the reasons why it disappointed me. I don't have huge expectations for these movies to change my life, but I do expect them to stick in the memory. And Avengers Age of Ultron was just a forgettable movie for me. It was a bit of a disappointment, and it was a bit of a it was a bit of a clusterfuck. But that's just my personal opinion. So now, of course, everybody's thinking, oh, look at this cast. It's too big. It's happening all over again. Why are they calling it Captain America? I don't know what's going on. And all this kind of stuff. And myself, surprisingly, because my feelings, don't try and read me, people. I'm hard to read. I'll always outfox you. I'm complicated like that. My feelings are, no, I have more confidence in Civil War than I ever did in Avengers 2, because Avengers 2, they had to search to find a story. All they knew is they wanted Ultron, and they wanted, certain things to happen to get them to... they wanted a Hulkbuster fight and wrap a movie around it. I guess that's maybe what they wanted. But Civil War, there's a story there, a real story that's waiting to be told. So I think it has a much better chance of being, a really, really strong movie than maybe Avengers 2 ever did. We'll start the ball rolling. Elizabeth, where are you feeling right now going into this one?
I do think there's a new tendency with Marvel that... I don't know. I don't know if it's new, because they had this problem even as of Iron Man 2 to keep cramming stuff in for fans, and to keep, and they kind of keep tripping over themselves. And let's set up something else. Let's set up something else. Let's set up something else instead of just stopping and telling that one really good story. And I get that. I mean, that's going to always probably be a problem with comic book movies, because comic books are episodic. I mean, each issue leads to the next issue. That's the whole point. They want to keep you buying it. And there's not really a beginning, a middle, and an end so much. But I'm hoping Civil War. I didn't have hopes. I was neither here nor there on Avengers Age of Ultron when it got announced. I was just like, well, it might be cool. Like, I enjoyed the first Avengers. And when it wasn't great, I was like, yeah, I forgot about it. It wasn't really... But like you said, Civil War is a good story, and it has the potential to be a really good story. And I think the one thing that kind of gives me faith that maybe as they're filming it, they might pull back, or some of these appearances might just be like glorified cameos in a way, is that the Captain America movies have remained fairly tight. And I feel like you have Captain America to build it around, and he seems to be the best anchor. You'd think that would be Iron Man 2, though, so I don't know. But, I mean, the Captain America saga, it feels like they can make a beginning, and we know there's going to be 3 now. They don't seem to be announcing Captain America 4, Captain America 5. It does seem like they have the potential to build a really good narrative arc with Cap that they maybe don't have, or don't feel like they have with the other characters, or with the other storylines, and with Avengers, because Avengers is always perpetually ongoing, that I hope they take the advantage of, and if they don't, that's going to be really depressing. I mean, I have high hopes for it, and I feel like those hopes probably will be let down, but I have hope. I want to believe.
Can't wait for Captain America 4, Who Shot Captain America? Yeah. That's going to be great. Captain America 4, Autopsy Table. Yeah. That's going to be good. Spencer, where are you feeling right now going into this one?
I'm not worried about the cast, because I think it makes sense after Age of Ultron to have all of those other characters appear in this movie. And if you're going to have a movie that divides the Marvel Universe into 2 camps, you can't have 2 people, just one for each side. Like, they have to have supporters. They have to have an army at their disposal. So the cast is not the issue. For me, the issue is the setting up thing, because in every Marvel movie, the worst parts are when they start setting up the other things and stop focusing on what they're doing with the movie. And Chris Evans has already said, literally, that Civil War is a setup for Infinity War.
Yeah.
And that really bums me out, because I'm like...
There's such separate stories. Like, how... That's the part that worries me, too. It's like, how is that even possible? You're talking Infinity Stones / superhero registration. Like, I don't understand how one is a setup for the other at all. And that, it's like it feels like a kitchen sink movie to, this, like, Avengers 2.5 thing. And I'm like, why? Like, you have a really good storyline. I don't understand why they didn't. And maybe Chris Evans just, I'm just throwing this out there. Remember, Infinity Wars coming in 2017.
Maybe he misspoke.
Yeah.
But and I understand people's frustration in that, like, the Cap movies are some of the better ones as far as the standalone movies go. 'Cause there's been 2, and they're both pretty great, which is a much better ratio than any of the other ones. So, the individual franchises, at least. And so I understand people that are worried, like putting all these extra characters in here that it's going to draw away from Steve's story and make it another Avengers where it's kind of mini arcs or maybe no arcs at all for everyone. But I don't think that's going to happen. His name is still in the title. It's like I know we're going to get into this later, but like the Batman v Superman thing, like Superman's name is still in the title. Like the movie's still about him. So I feel the same way about Cap. So I'm not worried about the big cast. I'm not worried about it drawing focus away from Steve. I'm worried about it just being another stepping stone.
Yeah. And I mean, Evans is very good at PR, and it's probably, and he's, the Marvel machine is very well oiled, and it's probably more like, remember, because it's like, I can't think how Civil War leads to Infinity War. Like, I can't.
I've got a theory.
Yeah. Like,
Steve dies, yeah.
No, not quite, no. We'll get into that later. Boy, will we. No, I had a theory about this, because it's a theory I've long held, Spencer knows this, that I've always held this notion about, at least for a movie or two, you have this sort of world without heroes concept. Like, before they announced Avengers 2, my idea, what I thought they were going to do, is have this movie in Avengers 2, where it would basically be a build-up, a 2-hour build-up to a fight with Thanos. And, they can't lose, they're Earth's mightiest heroes. We've seen them wipe the floor with invading armies. The end of the movie, they face Thanos on his space rock. 2 minutes flat, he wipes them all out, and the movie ends on this complete cliffhanger, and you don't know if they're alive or dead, and at the time they'd renegotiate the contracts, and then we'd decide in Avengers 3 who was coming back or not. Well, the only way I can see it segueing, and this might work, is maybe in Civil War we're bringing in all these characters, and maybe what we do have at the end is this sort of battle royale between all of them, where they basically clobber the fuck out of each other, and they all end up in some kind of exile or Marvel inverted commas death kind of situation. But whatever happens, by the end of that movie, the world is without heroes, and so, at least going into Infinity War Part 1, we are defenseless, except for Thor, who's away, and all the new heroes like Doctor Strange and Black Panther, who they're bringing in, and that Spider guy. That's kind of the way I'm thinking it's going to go. It works poetically if these heroes are only done in by their own fucking pride and hubris, and that they can't actually get along, maybe that's what it is.
Well, I definitely, I thought that, thinking back to last summer and debating where Avengers would go, and I think they had just tentatively announced Civil War at that point, or it was still a rumor, I can't remember now, but, our theory, my friends and I's theory of where Ultron was going to go was that, Tony would design, which is, obviously kind of the plot of where it went, is that that Ultron would end with such, devastation and destruction, again, kind of where it went, but that, the planet was, no more Avengers. And that it would have, and that the Avengers themselves would realize that together they were a worse threat than they were apart. And so, let's go our separate ways. This team thing was a bad idea. And that, it would take something like Thanos for everybody to realize, they do need us. Earth does need us. It needs somebody to avenge it. And then it would kind of, again, come to very, full circle. And, if Civil War is, basically the second part of that story, that that would work. That would actually work really well.
Well, if that happens, but it's all been manipulated into this situation, this no-win scenario by Baron Zemo, then that automatically makes Baron Zemo the best Marvel villain in the history of film. If he pulls that off, which will be totally into his character. We're not going to go on another rant about the Thunderbolts, which I love very much, but, that kind of hints on that, and I want Baron Zemo to stay alive so I can get the Thunderbolts movie in face. Let's talk about that. We've already talked about that on this show, but, Spencer, I know these movies are for kids, so maybe I'm on a hiding to nothing with this climax that I see here. You think I'm out of my mind about this?
No, I think you're on the right track, because looking at the schedule for the other Marvel Studios movies, the only other ones that are coming out between Civil War and Infinity War Part 1 that are on Earth is Doctor Strange, who probably isn't in Civil War, and even then, his power set and his journey isn't in that same realm. Anyway, But then the only one that is on Earth is the new Spider-Man movie. But since
and Black Panther,
it's still hazy about what that even means. Like, since it's a Sony Marvel co-production, and like he's in the MCU, but his standalone movies are kind of like their own thing. But all the other ones that are coming out, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor Ragnarok, yeah, they're away from Civil War. So the fallout of Civil War will be looming in the air until Infinity War. I think you're on the right track.
Cool. Well, let me ask the next question then, which is one that's been playing on my mind a lot. Ever since they announced it, I was getting a little bit nervous about the Winter Soldier storyline. I love Bucky. We all love Bucky, and we all want to see that Bucky gets a right resolution to his storyline. Now, personally, I don't have a personal attachment to the way that it's gone in the comics, even though I think there's some really cool ideas there. The fact that, you know, he did get redeemed, he did take over the mantle of Captain America for a while. He got his ass dragged back to Russia to face, to answer for his crimes back there, just when he was about to become a full certified hero over here. Things like that. Some really, really cool stuff there. I don't mind which way it goes. I thought one of the things that was going to play a big factor in Civil War was I really thought the whole thing was going to kick off because of Bucky. I didn't think it was going to be about superhero registration per se, but I thought one of the things that was really going to divide Cap and Tony is that it is absolutely implicitly stated in Winter Soldier that Bucky assassinated Tony's parents. That is absolutely there. And so I figured, okay, Tony finds it out. Bucky is about to be, redeemed. He comes back, and Cap's fighting for his place in the new world, and to, at least have a shot at being redeemed, being a hero, take him under his wing. I'll answer for his crimes, whatever you want to say. I'll do the jail time, whatever it might be. But that's going to be the issue. No, this guy killed my parents. I thought there was going to be a big issue. I don't know. I just don't know if there's time for it and what they're setting up. Does anyone else think?
No, because I don't think, and I think it's just such a blink and you miss it moment, which I guess technically everything to do with Bucky is, when you really think of the way the Cap movies have gone. And which is one of those fascinating, I really wanted to know how that twist played out to people who weren't familiar with Captain America comics. And working at the Alamo kind of gave me that a little bit, which was really cool, because general audiences don't have long memories, and so it was I think I remember that he had a friend that died.
They did show it in the movie.
They did, and that helped. It was hey, remember this? This hurt Cap.
The second time I saw Avengers Age of Ultron, literally at the Thanos theme, the guy behind me, who's that guy? I couldn't believe it. I was like...
And it was, and so it was really funny, because I have my best friend, she was not familiar with Marvel stuff, and I was like, I can't wait for you to find out who the Winter Soldier is. She was, and literally they were driving to the theater, and her husband's like, you know who the Winter Soldier is? And he spoiled it, so I didn't get my satisfaction, but I was working on the floor of the Alamo, and these people came out of Captain America, and they were not comic book geeks at all. They were very sporty, athletic people, and they were like, oh my god, Winter Soldier was his best friend. I was like, all right, that's great. I finally get to see how that plays out. That is a sucker punch to your general audience members. That's cool. But I don't know that using the Tony's parents, it's there, but I don't know. And I guess Tony's dad is a presence enough in the movies that could be you're oh yeah, I really feel that's a bone to pick with Tony. But I don't think Winter Soldier is going to be something is powerful enough to set off superhero registration. I feel he's going to be this bit this dark horse that comes in. You're not sure what side he's going to be on. He's unpredictable. And I feel what we saw at Ultron is going to be what is Civil War. I mean, it's going to be Cap and Iron Man's differing values, and the way Tony feels post-Ultron and post-Vision, and it's going to be, it's going to be very broad. And I don't think it's going to be as personal as Tony Chu. But I do think Tony's going to go after Winter Soldier, because he's oh, and also, by the way, and it's will Tony ever find out? We don't even know if that's going to be and that could be like a good plot twist. Like maybe that is something that comes up or does drive a wedge further between them, that somebody like Baron Zemo or something drops like that file on Tony's desk. It's like, hey, by the way, like, tap right here, like, you know, because as far as Tony knows, they died in a car accident, so that could definitely be a kink in the works. But I feel like that's like almost too subtle for where Marvel goes these days. Even in the Cap movies, I'm not sure.
I think that's how it's going to play out, is that the catalyst for the registration and for Tony being behind it is that the new Avengers squad that he has no part in physically will get involved in some sort of event, some sort of big catalyst that will see people hurt or will cause a big uproar with the public. That's going to be what makes Tony get behind registration and come up with it. But then finding out that Steve's friend is the Winter Soldier, and then the Winter Soldier killed his parents, is going to both cement in him that he needs to see this through, and then also cement in Steve that he's on the right path too.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's going to be it's going to be a wedge between them, but it won't be the first wedge.
Yeah.
I think about specifically as you were saying that, I thought about that exchange in Age of Ultron, where Tony says, "I don't trust a guy without a dark side." Well, let's just say you haven't seen it yet. It's Bucky. Mm-hmm. That's what he's referring to. That's pretty clear at this point.
And it's the one thing that makes me wonder, like, because I really thought, okay, Winter Soldier was going to play somehow a really pivotal part in the plot, and we all knew Sebastian Stan had signed on, and yet when they were like the press was like, now we know the cast of Civil War, and oh my God, Sebastian Stan's coming back. That almost makes me think that he will really, like, it makes me worried he's going to be like this afterthought, that he sort of shows up and he's like, sup dudes, like there won't be anything about like Tony's parents or like a dark side to Cap or Cap's dark skeleton in the closet. It's like, I'm really worried he's going to be like the guy that like Captain America meets in a cafe and he's like, you're on the right path, Steve. Like then he leaves. Like I'm really worried that like.
Do you know what I'd love? I think what would be fantastic is, let's say the movie is absolute non-stop action and mayhem. Every 15 minutes, just for 30 seconds, you just cut back to Bucky and he's still in the museum. And he's still just reading everything. It's like, this thing's huge. It's like
he's staring at the print on the wall and he's like, oh shit, I don't know how to read.
Watching that documentary is like, man, even at 50, she's still hot. He's like, why didn't she go with me?
He's touring he's still touring the whole museum. Like he's just like, maybe he moves on. Like towards the end, like you find out like he finally got out of the Cap like exhibit, and he's maybe in like the 60s exhibit. And he's like, oh my God, like, the world has changed so much.
And that kid who recognized Cap, people like, you're that shut up kid.
He just conks him with his metal arm, like, and then he's like, oh, dark side.
Actually, do you know what? I literally didn't think about this until now, but the Cap Museum, that'd be a great place for an action sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it's a little Demolition Man, I don't know, but that'd be a cool place for an action sequence. Like, fucking destroy all of Cap's past. Just burn it all. Crossroads would do that. That's the kind of thing Crossroads would do. And Stan, the security guard, would still be like, I'm so fired again.
If I can humble brag, when I interviewed the Russos when Winter Soldier came out on Blu-ray, I pitched them the idea of going to the Cap Museum again and showing like all the other people that have worn the mantle of Captain America while he was frozen, and they were like, that's actually a really good idea.
Right, that'll be in there, and you're like, God damn it.
And then the lawyer comes up behind you, please sign this affidavit saying they did not acknowledge that's a really good idea. Oh, man. Well, I think we're on the same track there. Well, okay, that obviously segues into something which is what inspired me to get Elisabeth on the show in the first place, is that we do have to deal with the thorny issue of how they're going to deal with the scene, which will either be broached in a way that will not traumatize children, or it will just not be broached at all. The death of the dream. Which is what I thought they were going to call the movie. I was so convinced they were going to call it Captain America Death of the Dream until common sense prevailed and someone said, Phil, they're not going to call a Disney movie something death, so there's no way that's happening. But is Cap going to get assassinated? Or, Elisabeth, I'm cueing you now, is something else going to happen?
Yeah, my theory Because I walking out of Ultron, it's like they're never the way Cap is set up, and we know he's in Infinity Wars, so we know because like that was the big rumor for so long. Like Evans wants out, they'll do Civil War so that they can kill off Captain America, and Bucky will take the mantle, and it's like we all kind of thought, and I that could still play out, yeah. But I think, my gut says, and actually there's still two ways that this could go, is I think somebody will like get Crossbones because that was kind of vaguely how it was in the comics. Like they thought it was Crossbones, but it turned out it wasn't. He'll take aim, and like he's gonna take out Cap, and like Bucky will take that bullet, and like that's like he will run in front of it, like or he knows, and he gets in a fight, and he dies in Cap's arms like that, and then you get that last line of "I was with you till the end of the line, no, Bucky," and like that last link of Cap's past is severed. His last friend that ever knew what he was going through, that last representative of, which is something they have not touched in the movies, and they really can't in some ways, although they can with Black Widow and Bucky, is that Cap is, like, the creation of Cap is responsible for so much horror within the Marvel Universe, because their attempts to remake him is how you get Wolverine, and it's how you get Bucky, and it's how you get Black Widow, and it's how you get so many just messed up characters that have just been physically and mentally tortured, and that should fall on Cap's shoulders, and that would be such a great thing to see in the movie. And maybe Cap hangs up his shield, like maybe that's enough. He's like, you know what, like I saw my best friend die because of me twice. I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I think that would be so, and it would be such a great Cap, like, I mean, I would just be such a great ending to his trilogy. Like, that would be like the nail in Captain America's coffin. Like, his best friend takes a bullet for him, and thus, Captain America is no more.
It's not exactly Dancing with the Ewoks, but yeah, it's an end to a trilogy. I'll give you that. Spencer, is children crying a good thing?
I think so. It builds character in children to see their heroes die. Wait, what's the question?
I was just teasing, but it's a thought. I mean, you have to think about this, folks. It's like Marvel's making these movies, for an audience. Is it intending in any way to, like, kind of a Harry Potter thing, grow up with the kids? I think that's a perfectly legitimate question. At some point, they're going to kind of grow out of the Hulk bust and fight stuff and all of that. They're going to realize, the dark world ain't so great. And they're going to, and maybe there's going to be a moment where things, it just, matures a little bit.
And I would say, like, as far as, like, the Captain America movies, if I had to, like, I know Cap is popular with kids, but the first movie had that sort of, like, very all ages appeal, like Raiders or Temple of Doom has, where it's like, yes, it's World War II, but it's that cartoon version of World War II that even little kids can get into. Where Winter Soldier was very definitely, it's like it wasn't adult, but I would honestly, like, I would be surprised if kids really ate it up. And beyond, like, Cap fighting, throwing his shield and stuff, because there's something kind of heavy, and I mean heavy in the Marvel sense, like, we're not talking, like, all the President's Men here, exactly. And, like, it's not for kids. Like, the themes in it and the implications and the things Cap faces, like, it's not really kid friendly in a way. I mean, and it's like if they were willing to do that with Cap's second movie, I kind of hope that they'll go dark with his third, like, in the sense of, what it means to be a hero, what it means to have your friends die, or what it means to be on a list and not on a list, and it should. Yeah, I think that, and those are some themes I don't really like. Again, I think maybe you're growing up with them, and if they're brave enough to kind of go with that and go, well, adults like this too, and we're kind of making this one for adults, like maybe that's okay. I don't know.
I also think it's sort of a natural progression from the themes of the second movie, which is sort of about that, like, surveillance on people, that sort of Orwellian world that a government is building to, like, take out threats before they happen. But then this is it's kind of the next step where, okay, that failed, but we still need to try and do that. So, like, put these people that we don't like on a list and don't let them do anything. So I think it makes sense from a thematic point of view, but you're right. I don't, like, a kid won't watch that movie. Like an 8-year-old won't won't go see that movie, and then at the end be like, oh man, I really liked what they had to say about the political implications of PRISM and
You're right. I can't really see like two kids on the playground like superheroes should be registered on the list, and another kid's like, no, they should have secret identities. Like they just like going to blows.
Even if the kids that grew up watching the movies grow up, like, there's still going to be other kids to watch the movies. So they're literally never going to run out of an audience, because the people that grow up and become adults are like, I want to watch the adult-oriented film. They're like, oh, I grew up watching Captain America. I'll go watch the new Captain America. Oh, and I'll take little Jimmy with me. He loves it.
Well, I just think whatever it is, whatever decision they make, it just needs to be something that sticks and isn't immediately retconned. Like, for example, like, if at the end of the movie we just have a situation where either, worst case scenario, Cap is assassinated, or Cap stands down, takes all the blame and ends up incarcerated, and then immediately Bucky comes in to take on the mantle. To me, that's just like, well, back to one. It's just like, okay, at the very end of the movie, it's like, okay, so no change then. Not really. Yeah. I mean, it might have some poetry to it, you know. You can't kill the dream and all that, but...
Yeah, and I kind of think that, like, if they kill it, like, the audiences aren't... and, like, killing off Bucky isn't super dark to me, which is why I kind of think they could go down that route. Like, he already died in the first movie. He had his sort of... We saw, like, a very, like, grim side. I mean, we saw his origin story, and it was gruesome, and it was sad... in the second one, and if they kill him off, like, I don't see that being too much for, like, kids to handle, or that Disney going out, because it's like, it's punishment for a guy that was bad, even if he's redeemed. He was a bad guy. And, like, audiences aren't super attached to him. Like, I see they could do that. And there's also the out in the sense, and, like, you still have Cap, but, like, the status quo has definitely changed, and you still have the out. I mean, the guy was resurrected once, and they're going all, like, I don't know how many movies Stan is signed for, which I guess is always the key factor in this stuff.
I think he's signed for 9 movies.
That's what I was thinking too. But they could, with them going sort of, so like intergalactic in scope. Like they currently have the plot line that Bucky becomes the man on the wall, and he's basically a space cop. And so they could do that. Like you could resurrect him again.
But he's not going to be in Infinity War. Let's just be clear about this. So, there's no chance. Yeah.
But it's like you could revive him I could see a post-credit scene of somebody reviving him, and he becomes some kind of player in future Marvel movies. I mean, that's depending on, like, how long his contract is. Like, I'm sure these, like, 9 film things do expire. He's like, well, so it only went to 2018. You guys can't pin me down. Like, I will not do that movie.
Well, I just know that there is such... There's so many moments that are specifically strategically placed in Winter Soldier that are such beautiful logical moments in that film, but also they have such a sense of foreboding. When in the climax of Winter Soldier, when Cap gets shot, I thought that's there for a reason. There's a very specific reason right here why Cap gets shot, why Cap gets critically wounded, and why Cap ends up in a hospital. And I'm seeing a situation unfolding here where, if Bucky takes the bullet, you don't have to say he's dead, but he's in a coma at least because he's a super soldier and all that. And we don't know if he's going to wake up. And who's standing by his vigil in the hospital bed? Tony, who at that point has, come around at least a bit, or he's at least had a wake-up call given everything that's happened. And I'm not sure if he's playing the Trouble Man soundtrack to wake him up, but he's at least there, He's
playing some AC/DC for him, we all know that.
Of course, exactly, that'll be right. But I do feel like that, I feel like at least there's going to be, I really, really hope, and I do think I'm right here, that there's going to be a lot of moments that they've created, not moments from the comics, but moments that they've created because they've had them in their mind since they shot Winter Soldier. I'm pretty sure of that. I did have a question for you. Having read Civil War, is there a specific moment in the book that's your favourite that you would just die to have them recreate in the film?
Here's the part where I'm going to disappoint you.
You've never read it?
Never read Civil War.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there a specific reason for that? I hate Mark Millar. No, that's
Just Lays.
that's what Jamie would say.
Well, he's not wrong. Yeah, but I'm familiar with moments from Civil War, so the one that I want to see, and it's one that I think we talked about it on the Daredevil episode, but it's when Daredevil, who is anti-registration, gets brought in, and he gets brought in by just Tony's goons, and they call him in, and they're like, he wanted to see you or something, and he spits a silver coin at Tony, and he says, I guess that makes it 31 pieces of silver or something like that. It's a really great moment on the page, and pulling Daredevil into the movies seems like a no-brainer, but who knows if that's going to happen.
I don't know if it's going to happen in this one. I really don't know about that, but
I'm bringing William Hurt back from The Incredible Hulk.
And that is the best. That is absolutely best, because we've been talking about this for so long that on this show anyway, that Incredible Hulk has been really badly treated, and it's almost like they are erasing it from the continuity. I am still fucking waiting for the leader to actually show up as a supervillain in one of these movies, because I'm going to steal that line, but I love the leader, and I really, really do want him to be in one of these movies. I don't know if that's going to happen, and the Abomination's alive and all that jazz, but at least they're acknowledging that it does exist. That's something, and that's personally gratifying for me. Well, there is one moment in the book that I would love to see. The only problem is it involves a character that can't possibly be in the film, Sue Richards. But they can still steal the moment, because basically what happens is the Civil War actually splits the Fantastic Four apart and makes them really interesting characters. Now, this is Fantastic Four as a full family. They're all together, and they've got the little boy, Franklin. And basically, Reed is he's like Tony's number one bro in the act. It's like they're partners, they're best of buddies in that. They're helping each other out, and Reed, as usual, is so far up his stretchy ass that he doesn't really figure out what the hell's going around him, including the fact that his wife is against the act. And in my absolute favourite moment of the book, it's Sue one night makes the decision to leave and go to the renegade hideout, and she just very quietly, because she's invisible, walks around the house, says her goodbyes to the family, says her goodbyes to her son, and then walks out. And that was the moment that really, again, there's no dialogue in that bit. It's a beautiful moment that really crystallises what is at stake here. These people are human beings. They have lives. I think that would be a great moment for Ant-Man. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me, from the trailer at least, this is a guy who does have a secret identity. This is a guy who's got a kid. And this is a guy who's got real stakes, a family he's got to protect. So I really think that you could do a moment like that with Ant-Man. And it's a moment that you can do with Ant-Man that you can't do with some of the other heroes.
You could do it with Hawkeye, probably. And that's probably where they would use it. And it would actually be more meaningful coming from Ant-Man, who is established right off the bat as having that identity, that family. Because, let's face it, it came out of nowhere in Ultron. We were all like, what? Like, we thought you were gonna die. This is dumb. I don't like it. That was at least my feeling watching that. And I wouldn't really, and he basically did that in Ultron, like, bye family. So doing it with Ant-Man would be way more poignant, and I hope that they do that. I hope you get that moment. I hope somebody's listening. Oh, and once again, it'll pop up and you're like, oh, Sarah.
It's a no-brainer. It really is. Well, the only other question, the big question mark, if we're talking about leftovers from Winter Soldier, is how does Sharon fit into all this? Because given the story that they're going to tell, I'd like to see at the end. I'm a sucker for happy endings. I want Cap to get together with Sharon. They've got a nice little natural chemistry. It'll be a nice little poetic way of, the past, isn't completely cut off from Steve when he actually finds out who Sharon actually is. It'd been really nice, and I really, really enjoyed Emily Van Camp's performance in Winter Soldier, and I want to see more of her, but I just don't know. She's the one where I'm thinking, lady, I don't know, I just sit aside. I don't know if there's any room for you. I know you're in it. I think you just might be watching monitors and going, oh my god. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't.
Well, I think with her is that, okay, so like we already know from the set photos that like it's pretty clear that Peggy's gonna die. At least that to me, that's what it seems like. So, and in the books, I know that Sharon, at least at first, was a supporter of the Registration Act. So that'll lead to some good friction between her and Steve. Is that their connection at first was just they both worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. and then he finds out who she is, and their connection is Peggy, and then that starts to get torn apart because she's on one side of the registration and he's on the other. And then I know that it gets kind of muddled in that like she's mind controlled by somebody, but I hope they don't do that because stop doing mind control in your Marvel movies.
Place another naked gun. Yeah. I must kill the Queen.
So I think they'll do that where it's the two of them kind of get to know each other. They realize who they are. Or Steve, she knows who he is, so Steve realizes who she is. They start to, I don't know if fall in love would be the best thing to do because everyone is so infatuated with Steve and Peggy's relationship that immediately giving him another love interest might not play well to fans, but I think that's how they'll play it out. And then through some way or another, she'll be like, oh, duh, I should be on the side of Captain America because why not? Who knows? I think that's how it's going to go.
I don't want to make this too macabre here, but this whole opening scrap that we're talking about, which actually causes all this collateral damage and causes the act to happen, you don't think Peggy's caught in that, do you? You don't think she dies because of that?
No, she's old. I think that's going to be in her sleep. Like, I think they got to give Peggy that much and Cap that much. Like, come on. Like,
but it might happen. Her death might happen at the same time as this, but on the other side of the world. So Steve is so caught up in her death and mourning for her and getting her buried in her funeral that he doesn't realize that Tony is making this play for the Registration Act.
Yeah. You know what, guys? I feel really good about this movie. I do. I don't know about you, but the more we've talked about it. No, I don't mean that. No, the writers they've got, they're fantastic writers, and I like the Russos very much. I mean,
that seemed critical. I shouldn't have said that, but it's like, well, if only we were somehow like at their shoulder, like, it would be great.
They know you were joking. It's fine. But I think what it proves is that, because we've talked about lots of different ideas and we don't know which one, but all of them sound pretty cool. It really solidifies what I thought going into this discussion, which is that it's a really rich story. Whichever direction they go, it's going to feel right. It's going to have a lot of pathos to it. It's going to have things in it the things that really I respond to in comic book movies, So, well, in movies in general. So I'm happy going into this. The only question mark I've got now is that the track record with Marvel directors is they really should only direct the one movie. And then they can say everything they've got to say and then let someone else take over. So it's going to be interesting just to see if the Russos stick the landing. And if they stick the landing for this one, well, man, it's going to be a fucking miracle if they do it for Infinity War, because that movie's going to kill them.
It's 2 movies, don't forget.
It's two movies filmed entirely in IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
At the very least, you're going to get backache lifting those fucking things around.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be there. Oh my god, am I going to be there for those?
Infinity Wars is where, I feel like I'm checking out mentally because I just don't know how you do that storyline. Like, I don't know. It's so big and it's so weird. And with them not, okay, because I've been out of the loop a little bit, but it's like, they're not looping Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity Wars, are they? Like, isn't it been established? They are? Okay.
They definitely will.
Because it's like, they have to. Like, even the minute you say Infinity Stones and, like, just do like, I was talking with a coworker, and I was like, yeah, well, in Ultron, it's about Infinity Stones, we're building Infinity War, and they're like, oh, does that mean, like, Guardians are like, in this one? I was like, no. Well, will they be in the next one? I was like, well, supposedly not. And they're like, that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, if you have a casual, like, non-educated person going, well, they have to be in there. Like, I don't see how Marvel is like, yeah, they stay separate. They stay out of that fight. Rocket, no fight in there.
Rocket will be the last one standing. I'm almost convinced that Rocket's going to have at least a moment like that. When you think about it, it's the idea of the littlest guy versus Thanos at that point. It's like, Okay, it could be horrible, but it could be.
I'd say that's awesome. Like that makes it my favorite movie ever, maybe. Unless it would be even better is if he knocks Rocket aside, and Winter Soldier just pops up and kills Thanos. Then it'd be my favorite movie ever. And then they buy back Wolverine, and he comes back. I shouldn't write Marvel movies because apparently they would be terrible. But yeah, that would be what I would. That like Thanos versus Rocket would be really. That is a moment that needs to happen.
We've just created a hashtag.
Rocket versus Thanos.
Check for it, folks. We're going to start this movement right now. We're going to influence these movies. They haven't been written yet. I think they're writing it right now, actually. Good luck to them. Good luck to them. All right, folks. So, obviously, we try, be we ever so humble, to give equal treatment to Marvel and DC. Most weeks, it's very, very hard. But we are going to do it this week. First of all, I don't know if this conversation was on air. It probably wasn't. But it always happens, Spencer. You and I were talking about Harley Quinn and what she was going to look like in the Suicide Squad movie the day before the photos hit. There's another fucking...
Did we? Did that really happen?
It did, remember, we were talking about it and we agreed she was going to look the way she does in the Arkham games, and then a day later the photos hit, because they filmed outdoors, and there she is, looking exactly like that. In skirt, absolutely albino white, and pigtails, and, you know, the ones we just saw recently where, like, she's in, like, Deadshot catches in her arms and stuff. That looks cool. That looks funny and stuff. But it's her show. I'm pretty convinced that like she's in all the photos and she's.
Yeah, I think that movie is gonna be split. It's Deadshot and her are the stars of the movie.
Absolutely. But we're not here to talk about that one because, you know, we're excited about that one. You know, I don't have any concerns about that one. And we've already talked about Suicide Squad. It's that other one. It's that other one where they're really betting the farm. That's the one that we're kind of worried about. So, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, teeth itching right now because I'm calling it that. We have to think about this now, especially in the light of the reception to Avengers Age of Ultron. By the way, I like to preface that I have no idea how the regular public has reacted to Avengers. I have no idea at all. All I can talk to is our inner circle on the internet, and you know, some people like it, some people love it, some people don't like it, some people feel betrayed, whatever. But it is, whatever your feelings are, that obviously is going to influence where you are going into Batman v Superman. Let's not kid ourselves, folks. We always, for some reason, make this an adversarial conflict. And I don't know whether we're going to compare Batman v Superman to Civil War, or we're going to compare it to Avengers 2. But whichever one will have to be superior, and one will have to be a piece of shit. And that's the way our minds operate, and I like to think we've grown out of that, but I know we haven't. Not yet. No way. So, it's going to be really, really interesting, unfortunately. And I don't know, man.
What is crazy about it is that, you know, I think people have already forgotten is that these movies were going to open on the same day. there was like a 3-month stretch where both of them were on the same release day. And granted, one of them was always going to move. But there was still a time when Batman vs. Superman and Captain America vs. Iron Man were going to be on the same release date.
Now, let's not kid us. That's a good question. I'm going to pose this to both of you, actually. And I don't know what the answer's going to be. I don't even know what my answer would be. But no shit, if that happened, you're going to see them both opening weekend. But obviously, unless you've got a time turner, you can only see one of them on the midnight opening. Which one would it have been?
I think I'd pick Batman simply because...
Boo! No, I'm just kidding.
Because it's only the second DC Cinematic Universe movie. Like, I don't know... I know what that universe... I know what Man of Steel looks like. I don't know what that universe looks like. I don't know what Batman and Superman look like on the screen together, you know, throwing blows and saying funny stuff. And I don't know what this new Lex Luthor looks like. I want to see that world, but I've seen Captain America and Iron Man share the screen, 2-3 times now? So, yeah, I'd pick Batman first if I had to choose between the two.
Elizabeth?
I would pick Iron Man versus Captain America because I'm more invested in it because I have seen it. So I would be, and I wouldn't want the internet to inevitably spoil how that turned out. So I would go, and I'm not the biggest DC fan. And as curious as I am about Batman versus Superman, I mean, I have a healthy curiosity about it. I would be like, I'll see it like a week after it comes out. Like, I don't want to deal with crowds. I'd go like cranky old person about it. Like, I'll see it like $1 movie. I wouldn't wait that long, but I would wait a ways so it was quiet and maybe cheap. And also because I mean, not to say Civil War won't be either, but I know Batman vs. Superman's going to be like 3.5 hours long. And it's really dark and rainy, and I'd be like, I'd have to really be in the mood for that one. And I know I'd have to like grit my teeth and just go like, oh, I just better to get this over with.
I don't have an answer. I really don't. And the part of the reason, folks, is because when I came out of Age of Ultron, and I was making a 3-hour train ride home because I'd been to London to see it, I was thinking a lot about Batman v Superman. I was thinking about it, okay, well, I've seen Avengers Age of Ultron, and it is, unfortunately, to me, a checklist movie where, you know, a lot of boxes have to be ticked, a lot of things have to be set up, and I'm going to be thinking about that a lot, and that's been the big fear going into Batman v Superman. It has an ungodly amount of expectation against it. The beauty of and the genius of Marvel Studios and the MCU is that they have so many movies being released every 6 months or whatever it is that you almost don't have time to actually register if you don't like one of them. You know, by the time you've actually thought about it, hey, I didn't like, oh, there's Ant-Man. You know, you just, before you actually think about it, the next movie's come along and you're onto that, and away we go. With Batman v Superman, not happening. Yes, I know the Suicide Squad, but that's a different beast. It really, really is. You know, this movie has got to work, and at the same time it has got to fill the corporate needs of the shareholders at Warner Brothers to set up this universe. It's just, I don't know, man. And the only thing that is really giving me hope about it is the fact that it's got some really talented actors, it's got some really talented screenwriters behind it, I don't know, I don't mind Zack Snyder, but he is a superficial director. He's not a guy who you're going to get the subtleties from. I'm not quite sure you're going to get the pathos from him that we've been talking about. And the weird thing is, it wouldn't even matter. If it really just was Batman v Superman, I'd be happy, because there's something so pure and primal about that, and something we've been waiting so long to see. I'd be happy with just a slugfest. I really would, if it looked good and it sounded good and you felt the blows and all of that, but I just don't know. I just feel like there's just so much else that's going on in this movie. I don't even have a handle on what it's going to be.
It feels like it, like we keep the one like really hardcore DC fan I know, and I talked about, and I'm like, I still feel like it's not a real movie. Even the fact that there's a teaser image for it, like teaser trailer, I mean, like if tomorrow Warner Brothers went like LOL JK, like I would not, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it would just like, there doesn't seem like there's a real movie there, because no, you don't have a handle on it. They seem to be making it up on the fly. Like, let's cast Wonder Woman, and it's like, well, what role does she play in it? I don't know. Like there's just like it's very much throwing paint at a wall kind of thing, and I'm very like, it could work. Like, it's so madcap. Like, you could walk out going, oh, I can't believe that. Like, they made it work. Like, it feels like you create a whole origin and a storyline, and oh my gosh, it didn't think, or it's going to be like, hey, there's Wonder Woman. Hey, I mean, it's just going to be as pieced together as the production of it seems to be. So,
just from certain shots, and from when they announced the movie, you know that it's influenced by The Dark Knight Returns. And we already know that, okay, yes, Snyder nailed the visual tone of Watchmen, but he totally undercut the subtleties and the point of the story when he made that movie. And I'm afraid he's going to do the exact same thing in this sort of adaptation of Dark Knight Returns with Batman v Superman. That's what has me kind of nervous about it.
Yeah.
Well, it already, if I may, I mean, it already is. I mean, and by the way, I'm not going to blame Schneider for this, but I mean, the whole core of that book, for me anyway, I mean, people take a lot out of that book and different things, but for me, what really spoke to me was the age of the characters. That book was the first time I ever acknowledged, hey, these guys can age, they can get old, and this really is the last dance these two are going through. One is going to win, and one is literally just going to run out of oxygen in his lungs and keel over and die. And you don't have that element in this, and that's not his fault, but it kind of just, they're gonna end on a handshake. It's not the same thing. It really is.
Yeah.
My main problem with it, I hate to sound so negative, folks, about it, because obviously it does have a lot of potential, but the key to making it work for me is going to be that you set up Batman and you set up Superman as equal protagonists and antagonists. Both have a point of view, both have things to fight for. You allow us, as the audience, to pick a side, which I'm pretty sure in Civil War they are going to do. I mean, let's face it, we all have our favourites anyway. That what's brilliantly set up is that for a while we all thought Iron Man was the fucking coolest, and then when Winter Soldier came along, we're like, no, Cap's the fucking coolest, and now someone like, no, Iron Man's the coolest. Let them fight, and we'll pick a side and all that. With Batman v Superman, it's like, now, Superman, you think he's got the advantage because he's had a movie behind it, but it's like, no, it's Batman, and not everyone liked that movie, and it doesn't matter anyway, because I feel like even if this was like a part one, they're gonna kick Superman in the crotch, they're gonna sweep him, he's gonna be the antagonist, he's not gonna get a chance to speak, it's Henry Cavill, and God bless him because he's trying so hard, but you put him on a magazine cover next to Affleck, he shrinks.
I think that in the trailer they already say that they're going to do that both of their names are in the title. They're going to have equal measure in the film, because in the trailer the entire first half is about Superman. It's about people talking about him, it's showing him the way the world, the population is reacting to him, the way scientists and business people and the military are reacting to him, and then there's the big statue of him, and then the second half is all about Batman, and presumably it's Alfred talking about the rage that builds inside a man, and then him staring at the suit, and then the Batwing and the Batmobile, and then him standing there, and then it's the two of them together at the end of it. So I think in the trailer they were saying, like, guys, both their names are in the title. It's not just the Batman show. Also, Superman is here sometimes.
But I do think in the trailer, like, the tone of it very much does come off like, that Superman is the bad guy. Like, there is a there's a darkness there, and like then you have Batman coming into it that, well, Batman is like the hope of humanity, and I mean, obviously that's going to be the point of the story in a way, that Batman takes it on himself to fight this alien. And I think that, like, if they handled right, like, you could really get like some sympathy for Superman in that, like, hunted, he's hunted, he's not exactly the underdog physically, but story-wise and the public perception and stuff, he is the underdog. Like, everybody likes Batman. Superman is currently on the outs with, these cities that he has smashed to smithereens. And I think you could drive a lot, like, you could easily pick a side, like, it's not fair to pick on Superman. Come on, he was doing his best. Like,
I think that's where we'll find Superman in the movie, is that he will, it'll be, in my head it makes sense, is that it'll be this weird meta approach to it where Superman, as the sort of wholesome and idyllic hero of the world, comes into this place where everyone is like, what the fuck are you doing? And then they'll try to paint him as the bad guy, and he's trying to do his best to prove them that he's not.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel that maybe this is where Lex comes in. I talked about this ages ago when we were trying to basically pitch a sequel to Man of Steel that they could make before Batman v Superman. But hey ho, there it is. But we thought, if you had a situation, in today's world, with people the way they are, where you had both Lex obviously bidding for his immortality of sorts with the people of the city, and also Superman doing the same thing, or not really trying to get such a thing. But as human beings, we're far more likely to respond and idolize a guy who can give you a job, who can give you money and things, than Superman, than this savior kind of guy who's an alien for one thing. And I guess that's. I've been kind of resistant to the Lex story on a superficial level, only because Bruce is a billionaire with more money than God. Lex is a billionaire, I presume, with more money than God. That's the same character, obviously slightly different, but as far as the type of person they are, I really don't. That's the one part of the world's finest story which has always had me scratching my head a bit. It's like I just don't like the fact that both Lex and Bruce are in it. That just does not play to me, because you actually having to have the same kind of scenes twice, Unless Bruce is actually going to show his public persona at all in this movie, which is a fair assumption to make, by the way. I don't think that's entirely unreasonable of me to think.
Yeah. They seem to be taking, the sort of Dark Knight Rises approach of, like, a retired Batman. Like, he's, so, like, maybe we don't have Bruce Wayne at all. Like, just Ben Affleck in a mansion. But I do think that you can turn that on its head really well, in the sense of you have Bruce Wayne who is, and I think that plays very much into the current, like, zeitgeist. You have Bruce Wayne who inherited his money. He doesn't work for his money. He just plays with that money. Like, his dad or his grandpa made it. And you have, like, if you have Lex Luthor as this sort of scrappy guy that came from nothing, and now he's a billionaire, and you can he's giving people jobs. He's rebuilding the city. You can you can have a lot of fun with that. Like, you could still turn people against Bruce Wayne in that sort of way of, well, what have you done for anybody? Like, you just sit there in your mansion, like, you haven't done anything. And you could have, like, Bruce Wayne coming out going, well, I'm going to come in and help too with the rebuilding effort, and people might be like, no, we prefer this guy. This guy's getting us involved. You're just handing us money. He's giving us jobs with the money. Like, I think you could play with that, and that might be really fun.
I got one final thing to say, though, about that I don't know if you've ever felt this way, and I don't know, maybe there's been a version of the comics that I've missed where they have done this, but the one thing that I've always found a little bit easy with the character of Bruce Wayne is, obviously they spend time in whatever iteration of the character and the stories they've told with the actual Bruce Wayne Enterprises side of it, the philanthropist side, the guy who can, give jobs to people, he can give homes, he can donate millions to worthy charities because he's got unlimited money. He's got comic book money. He's got more money than God. And I always felt, so really, it has no impact. He can do it because he's got the money. He doesn't even think about it. I've always thought, why don't they have a Wayne who's actually on, not a minimum wage, but he's on a sensible income. He's got a company to run. He's actually not got all the money in the world. He's actually got hard decisions to make with his money. Then choices would actually carry weight. And they kind of touched on that in the Nolan movies, like, Bruce, you're broke. Okay, seriously.
Dusty penny in the vault.
You spent all our money on this floaty ball that's actually can turn into a bomb from a woman we shouldn't trust because she's foreign, whatever it might be. But have they ever done that in the comics? Because I really think they should actually have
that's something that I've always enjoyed they do with Iron Man. Like, Iron Man regularly loses everything. And he's like, I gotta rebuild my company from scratch. Like, and nobody wants to invest in Stark Industries. They're like, oh my God, Tony, we know more than, like, build yourself up, and then you make a bunch of evil robot suits and you get destroyed again. And I think that, I don't know that, I'm not super familiar with Batman comics. I don't feel like they've ever done that. I think he's just always successful. Comic book money. He's like Scrooge McDuck. He lives on a vault of gold.
Yeah. But taking away the money aspect of Batman, like, totally ruins the power fantasy of why people even read Batman.
I get it. I do. And by the way,
it would make perfect sense from a narrative perspective to explore what it means to be that character but have no resources.
And I feel like Nolan is the first one that really did that, and I think he still did. Like, I feel like that the fact that it feels very limp in the movie is, like, proof that he was like, I don't even know where you go with this shit. Like, he does need money for a bad plane. Like, uh-oh.
And there have been street-level Batman before. I suppose, maybe I'm talking myself out of this here now, but one thing that the movie could really do, which would be fantastic, which would really get the audience invested into it, is that, let's be completely honest about this, when it comes to the characters that you want to be, it always comes down to Superman and Batman. Yeah, I'm sure some people would like to be Spider-Man and all that, but really when it comes to it, you either want to fly or you want to be rich as shit. It really comes down to it, and I find it always interesting to ask people that question, is which one would you be? You know, well, and that's why Iron Man's the best, because he's actually both. That's the genius thing about that character. But in DC world, if you actually cut between that, let's just say you actually cut between a wonderful sequence, a wonderful simple sequence of Superman flying, the joy of flight, and then you cut back to Bruce Wayne, and he's got a hot tub and 10 hotties and a big wad of cash that he's just burning, and then you just cut between the two, and you're just like, audience, choose. And obviously all the 10-year-old boys are going to be like, you think I'm fucking stupid? Obviously I'm going for the money. And then the older ones of us, of the more mature, are like, no, I believe I can fly. Who knows? But that could be a cool thing to do, at least.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and I think like the nice thing about Superman, like there's always that little moral underpinning, and I think that's why people like might choose Superman. He's consciously poor. Like he chooses to work like a 9 to 5. Granted, he's won like Pulitzers and stuff now, and he probably makes good money. Although I kind of got I don't know, like, because sometimes it seems like he's not a great reporter. Like Lois Lane has like, you know, the stars in that department, and Clark Kent's just there. But I think he has won a Pulitzer in the comics.
She definitely has. I don't know if he has.
Yeah, and I don't. It's like.
But it's a rough job. It's not a 9 to 5 job. Let me wake up, Harry. I assure you, it's a rough job.
He's got to eat like bad food, and he's like live on like Cedrin and stuff. It's like Superman could be wealthy because he could like burn through a vault like with his eyes, and he could take all the money, and then he could be wealthy, and nobody would even question it. And obviously, that's what would make him a supervillain. But he could also probably find a way to like use his powers for money. I'm sure, like, probably, in, like, a good way. And so it's like so, like, if you choose Superman, you're like, I'm choosing to be
poor. Didn't think of it that way.
I'm choosing to be, like, a normal guy with an extraordinary side, whereas if you're choosing to be Bruce Wayne, you're kind of just choosing to be awesome, like, all around and not work for it.
You really need to read the small print on these wishes. It's like, you can fly, you can go anywhere, but you'll be eating tin soup every night. So I didn't think of that.
And your family is from you're gonna inherit a farm someday. Mortgage on that, like. You're gonna sell it, like, what are you gonna do? Corn prices are down, things are bad on the Kent farm, like. You have to deal with that stress, or you're Bruce Wayne.
I'm going to have to agree with your earlier statement, Elizabeth. You should not be writing these things. You should definitely not be writing them. And is Doomsday actually in this? I thought I heard he was, and then
there's rumors, but they haven't said officially.
Oh God.
Well, it feels like there's got to be something, because ultimately we know Batman and Superman, neither one kills the other, so like something has to happen, I think, within this movie that unites them, that they're like, we're better together than apart. Like it feels like then Doomsday somebody has
again,
to
Elizabeth, you should not be writing these things. that is not going to be a line of the dialogue in the film.
I'm actually going to steal all the prints and like insert it in. Like, that's weird. It's none of their voices or anything.
Yes.
Time bomb.
Go Justice.
I mean, it's like, it's like, it feels like something has to unite them, and in this movie itself, because how does it end? I mean, like, I guess it ends in a draw, and how audience is gonna feel like walking out, like, they're just shaking hands, like, you know what? We're equal heroes. Like, I'm very curious how that's done. Like,
equal heroes. God,
I don't. Like,
that's awful.
Like, do they team up and fight Aquaman? Do they team up and fight Wonder Woman? Do they realize Wonder Woman and Aquaman exist? Or like, oh wait, the world's bigger than just our problems? Like, what is this? Like, do they team up and fight Lex Luthor? In which case, you really only need one of them. Probably just Batman.
That's what you need Superman. I mean, I feel like Aquaman's only going to be in here, like, to basically, he's going to be like what the Underminer was in The Incredibles. He's going to show up at the end and just be like, you know. You are all above me! Nothing is beneath me, surface dwellers. And they're just going to suit up, and they're just going to run at the camera, all three of them. And I'm going to be like, nah, I think I'm staying in for the next one. Oh, no.
How does Wonder Woman, like, is she just gonna, like, fly by then? Like, if that's your Aquaman theory, like, how does Wonder Woman show up in that? Like, she comes by just swinging that lasso, like, hello, boys, and, like, that's it?
Yeah, well, you know what? I have an interesting perspective on Wonder Woman, which, you know, really is really going to help going into this and the solo movie. I saw that TV pilot that David really did. That was hands down the worst piece of I have ever seen. I have never seen a character translated more poorly than that piece of television. It literally made me ill that hour. Really was unbelievably horrible. And I know that nothing they can do to Wonder Woman, I know in my bones, can be as bad as that.
No, that's certainly true. I've heard enough rumors, and I know people who saw it, and I heard, and it just, yeah, talk about somebody who just was making a lawyer show, and they're like, but put Wonder Woman in. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, if I may, let's end this on a positive note, because I really feel like, certainly me, I've been a negative Nancy about this movie, and I apologise, folks, because we're not supposed to do that on this show, and we're just doing the kind of, it's fear of the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel bad about that, so I apologise. Let's end on a positive note. If we may, we'll start with Spencer. What is your dearest hope for the movie? What is the most that you could expect from it? What is the thing that if it accomplishes it, you will be very, very happy, nay, beaming as you come out of the movie? What does it need to get right?
I'm going to cheat. I have two. One is that, and we already know that they're kind of doing it, is that they're taking the negative reactions to Man of Steel and incorporating them into the plot of the film, which I think is really smart, and it makes a lot of sense, especially for this dark and gritty world that they're building, in that people would give a shit about buildings being toppled over by someone who claims to be a hero. And I feel like as long as they can actually nail that, and it's not just something that they're using to get us into the theater, that will be incredible. But then also, one of my absolute favorite part of The Dark Knight Returns is when old Bruce Wayne is sitting in Wayne Manor, and it's mostly accomplished because of Miller's internal narrations for the character, is that he finally, the two sides within him of like the old I'm so done with this versus the you will always be Batman, and Batman finally wins out, and then it cuts to all of these newscasts of reporters saying, we're getting a report of a large bat-like creature that stopped a mugging on whatever. And then there's that great splash page of him jumping through the rain, and there's the lightning cracking behind him, and it's him as Batman again. Like, I want to see that on the big screen with a real Batman.
Yeah. Elizabeth?
I guess I'll go for the obvious one. That I really would like to see, like, Wonder Woman have a really great moment in this, like, just like something very defining, and that we get a sort of superhero movie, you know, female superhero that we haven't gotten to see on screen, like somebody with superpowers getting to do something really cool. And I think there's rumors or something that I would like to see Aquaman really pissed off at what the World Engine did to his ocean. Like, I would like to see that. I'd like to see some, again, like, yeah, that the things we saw in Man of Steel have some weight, like actual weight and consequence, as opposed, and like just as like a surface treatment of bad things happen, but now we're onto this. You know, I would like that to have like real weight and shadow over that movie, more than just an internet like reference in a way, like a nudge. So,
well,
yeah.
For myself, I think I'm just going to stick to my original thought. As long as you can make a clear distinction between the two characters of Superman and Batman, and yet give them equal and fair treatment, and let us, as the viewer, choose. Don't enforce your opinions on us. Don't make Superman out to be a demon and an antagonist just so you can big up Batman because you like him better. If you do that, we'll see right through it and we will resent you for it. Us Superman fans, we will hate you for it, most likely. So just give them equal treatment. Let us choose, let us pick a side, and let us have our playground fights and squabbles ourselves about who really won. Let us do that. If you give them equal treatment, I will have huge respect, because I acknowledge it's not going to be an easy thing to do. You are dealing with a general audience who probably, much to my chagrin, is always going to think Batman is cooler. I know my little brother does, no matter how much I try to convince him that Superman at least deserves a shot with him. He's never going to listen to me. He's never even going to watch the movies. Yes, I know, I don't know why he is my brother. I'm sure there's some kind of show he was adopted. But it is what it is. So if you can at least accomplish that, I will love you for it. And I'm saying it right now so I can be on the record. Check back with me in March, folks. Check back with me in March. Alright, well this has been delightful. I can't wait. Fuck this summer. I'm sorry, just fuck this summer. And fuck this Christmas too. Oh no, well I want to see Star Wars, we'll see. Folks, we'll be back. Spencer, what are we going to talk about next time? What should we talk about? What's coming up? What's on your mind?
See.
It's probably Batman Arkham Knight. We're just going to play that, aren't we? We're busy.
There might not be an episode in a month. Let's just say that.
Well, you should know why now, folks. Elisabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Isn't it?
So long.
Yes. Well, just mark it in your calendar. March and May of next year. You're going to be back.
All right, and to see if we're right about Bucky Barnes and
just to see if they incorporate all your wonderful dialogue into those films. We're just still getting over that. We're equal heroes. I mean, fucking hell, this isn't mystery, man. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we'll see you later, folks. You take care. So folks, as promised, it is the welcome return of Cinematic Happy Comfort Food. This week we are delighted to be joined by ComingSoon.net's Mr. Edward Douglas as we talk about one of my personal favourites, A Clockwork Orange. Hello everyone and welcome to Cinematic Happy Comfort Food, where every episode we invite a special guest on to talk about the film that whenever they need it, they pull off the DVD shelf to fulfill, well, whatever they need fulfilling when they pick that film. Now, when I say that my special guest tonight has chosen A Clockwork Orange as happy comfort food, you might immediately think, okay, that person's surely demented. But I say, don't look into it too much. Let's find out exactly why. So, my special guest is ComingSoon.net's writer and editor, Mr. Edward Douglas. Mr. Edward Douglas here. Why have you chosen A Clockwork Orange?
Okay, well, I think I've been set up here because I don't think I got the drift of this was the comfort food movie. Because for me to watch that movie because it has all this rape and violence it really does make me sound demented. But it does comfort me. I don't know, something about it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the question I always ask when I'm talking about this specific film is because it's quite unique in terms of the fact that it's always been available in your country and throughout the world, but was banned in mine for the longest time because it was the weirdest thing. Kubrick decided to withdraw the film from release 2 years after it opened, but only in the UK. He was only concerned about its influence on violent people and violent crime in my country, and when it was re-released after his death, I guess in 99 or something, that's when I got to see it for the first time. It was a big explosion, like the first time that the Exorcist was re-released and all that kind of stuff. But the question I always like to ask people when I talk to them about it is, like, do you remember the first time that you saw it?
Well, the weird thing is that, okay, this is the thing, I can't remember if I saw it first or if I read the book first. Because I definitely read the book in high school, and I was probably about 15 or 16 when I read the book. And I think I read the book. See, I think I read the book because I probably wasn't allowed to see it when I was 15 or 16. Like, I probably, I think, what year did this come out? It came out like in 70, I think, 1970, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So while I was 5 years old, okay, so I wouldn't have been able to see it then.
I love that image, though. I do love
that. Like, hey, let's take our son Ed to see Clockwork Orange. It's a nice movie about kids hanging out and playing violent games. I don't know. No, but I definitely heard about it. And actually, to be funny, to do it. Okay, do you know how I heard about this movie? This is the funniest thing ever. I heard about it because I read a Mad Magazine parody of it. I'm almost positive that's the first time I heard of it. It's like we read a Mad Magazine parody of it, and then it was like, what's this movie they're parodying? And I remember seeing like posters, maybe. Like I remember the posters very vividly, and I think I finally was in the library and I saw they had the book there and I read it, and then I saw the movie probably within a year of that. Because I liked the book so much. I finally got a chance to check it out on VHS or probably with one of my friends or something. But I was definitely very. I mean, it was one of those movies that when I saw it, I was very, very. I want to say inspired, because again that gets into the I'm demented category. No, but it wasn't inspired. But I was a kind of a punk kid when I was like 15, 16. I was very much a kind of a rabble rouser, troublemaker, fighting against the system kind of thing. And this came along, and also The Warriors. The Warriors was another one which was like that. And the Warriors came along, and it was one of those movies that kind of like said, hey, yeah, that'd be kind of fun to be in a gang. I don't know. There's something about that when I was 15 or 16 that this really kind of, inspired me. And also it was just like the more I've seen it, the more I've caught other things out of it. Since when I first saw it. When I first saw it, it was just like, oh, this is cool, fighting and, having sex and blah, blah. And then as I got older, it was more like, it's more about the penal system and how, how they deal with crime and how they thought they should deal with crime, or how they thought crime might be dealt with in the future.
I mean, I remember specifically, it's funny you mentioned book, because the first time I ever technically saw it was in a book. I found in a second-hand shop this illustrated screenplay book, which had most of the iconic stills from the film, but just as in an illustrated screenplay book. So I kind of felt that I had seen it before I'd seen it. Right. The first time I did see it, I don't know exactly how old Alex is supposed to be in the film, but I can tell you that was the age I was when I saw it. And I don't know if that's the age that Kubrick felt I should have been when I first saw the film, but I had the most incredible experience with the film, where I was expecting this very, very cold, detached piece of cinema, as I would expect from him, and instead I found this film that was incredibly, I'm not going to say warm, but it was funny, and it was it had a protagonist in that, for all the wrong reasons, is incredibly empathetic, incredibly seductive, and I rooted for him at every stage of the way. And it took me a few viewings to figure out why, and I realised it's only my interpretation, but everybody else in the film that Alex interacts with has some kind of personality defect that just makes me automatically side with him. His parents are idiots, simpletons, very, very shallow, very, very clueless. His counsellor is basically some kind of sex pervert in his free time. That's pretty clear from the seduction scene he has with Alex. His droogs, of course, are treacherous bastards who leave him to take the fall for a crime. The only person... of course, there's the only person I think in the movie that I have any kind of... don't have those feelings for is the prison chaplain. He seems like a decent person. But there's also, the head prison guard, who's this worst kind of abusive, ridiculous cliche. There's Joe the lodger, who I just want to punch in the face. And the only people who I feel any kind of sympathy for are, of course, the writer, who is beaten up and abused at the start of the film, and then the second half turns out to be this really, really dangerous, almost psychotic lunatic who's had a kind of nervous breakdown in the gap of time that we've left him, and then becomes this really, really dangerous person who at the same time is incredibly funny. Like, my brother quotes his lines of dialogue all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scene later on where he's just kind of like turning red and just
try the wine.
Yeah, oh my god! Oh, I know. It's just so over the top crazy, and it's sort of I know it's one of those scenes that like I keep forgetting about that, and I see it like, oh yeah, it's the funniest scene ever. It's like not supposed to be. It's supposed to be pretty. You're supposed to feel bad about what happened to him, but he's such a weird over the top performance.
Hey, but he's got Darth Vader to protect him, which is so weird.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, his bodyguard is this guy who's living with the second half of the film. That's Dave Prowse.
Oh, I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, before he was Dave Prowse, but yeah, if you've seen Dave Prowse, you can recognise him there. It's not distracting though, but he is like I don't know if it's a forced perspective thing, but he appears to be 9 feet tall in that house. He's.
No, I don't think it is. I think that other man is just really, really small and he's in the chair. But it's tough. I never knew that because I never seen what David Prowse looked like, obviously, because there's never. You never see him in the movies or anything, so...
Oh, no, of course. Why spoil the magic? I also noticed, I mean, as far as I know, the writer's house being one of them, I think there are only actually 3 sets in the film. Everything else is location photography. Right. Like that record store that Alex goes in, which is the craziest, trippiest thing that I've ever seen in my life. It's real, apparently. It's not a set. You'd think it would be. It kind of adheres to what Kubrick would want from a set. It's kind of like the circular thing where I can just do a big long
I'm sure they dressed it up though. I'm sure it wasn't exact. I'm sure it wasn't just going there filming. I'm sure they dressed it up to make it look more futuristic or put signage and stuff like that on there.
Well, that's what I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting it's supposed to be set in the future. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much to the story, but it is supposed to take place in this slightly timeless but in the future world where these people can walk around in the middle of the night and wear these ridiculous outfits, and there's nobody to protect the innocent. And his mother has purple hair, and the writer's wife, when she's sitting in this pod, she's not sitting in a chair, she's sitting in this weird pod, and the woman who has the health farm has this absolutely crazy house, and it just feels weird but timeless. But I do forget it's set in the future because it just doesn't make. I don't think of it as a dystopian tale myself. I just think of it
even
as
the car. Remember when they're driving the car? Even the car was supposed to look like this is what a car in the future is going to look like. It's going to look like 4 people kind of in a glass thing and kind of hanging on to. It's almost more like a motorcycle. It's very small. And the funny thing is that I think Spielberg paid homage to that with AI and artificial intelligence, because he had the same kind of car to kind of make it I always thought that was the point, that artificial intelligence was supposed to take place in the same world as Clockwork Orange. But obviously, one was based on a book, previous source material, and one wasn't. But I felt there was a lot of throwbacks to an AI to old Kubrick movies.
That's an interesting theory. That's a double bill. I think that the thing that today I take away from the film, and I do struggle to wrap my head around it, is it comes down to something that Malcolm McDowell's Alex says to the prison chaplain about halfway through the film, where he just very, very bluntly, naively, whether he's sucking up to the chaplain or not, I never really know, but he just says, I just want to be good. Be good. The implication being, I am not good. I was born bad. I am bad. It is just me. It's pre-programmed. It is what it is. Yeah, and I need it to be, deactivated like a switch, which is exactly what the Ludovico technique is for. So
I think he's already proven himself to be manipulative, because he does manipulate everyone around him. And so for him to say that, I didn't believe it. I really felt like it was him saying what he knew they wanted to hear. I really felt like he was just doing his usual thing, where he basically is saying what someone wants to hear, because that he knows that works. So I don't think I really was able to forgive him or because of that.
Oh no, of course. I guess that makes him an idiot then, because he's not really thought this through, because he knows, well, he's heard the rumours at this point, there's this technique which is going to literally erase the bad out of you, it's going to reprogram you. He knows what it is, and he wants to go up for it. What, just because he just wants to get out of jail quick, like he thinks he can resist it or something? I never know, I don't know what his game plan is at that point, I guess. But the idea that, I mean, what's interesting to me is that not only does he believe that, but the government believes it too. The government believes we intend to cut down crime. We don't care about the subtleties, Padre. We just care about the fact that it works. That's the big speech that he has in front of everybody. It works. He is now genetically engineered to be resistant to evil action. And it doesn't matter the fact that he has no choice. It doesn't matter the fact that he gets almost throws up every time he wants to do something even remotely sinful. You wonder about the larger implications of that every time someone is faced with a moral choice. It works, and that's all they care about. And that's the part of the film which to me feels horribly prophetic, because if we are dealt with the questions of morality, questions of cutting down crime, questions of dealing with what appear to be evil people who can't be saved, we do deal with it, and we will deal with it if such a horrible technique exists in a black and white manner. We will just say either it works or it doesn't, and if it works, we're going to do it. And that's the part that I feel is a forecast.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really weird is about the movie is like how controversial it was back in the 70s. Because back then it was just like, I mean, more people would watch it and they really were like, oh, it was all this violence and sex and stuff like that. As far as I know, I mean, I don't think anyone actually you don't actually see anyone getting raped in the movie. There's nudity, and there's like, you know, I mean, actually that's not true. I think the woman at the beginning is sort of, but I mean, it's like, it's really pretty mellow compared to plenty of other things that have come since then. But like, it was really controversial that people were completely ignored that message you were talking about. They completely ignored that what was trying to be said by Burgess and by Kubrick. And like you said, and they completely ignored it, and then now like 30, 40 years later, or actually more than that, we're almost 50 years, we're 45 years later. The 45 years later, I mean, we're dealing with the exact same thing. We're dealing with the penal system, which is not, you know, where it's like, it's just not, it's not great. And it's like a lot of people actually ignore it. It's not even a big topic right now, the penal system and how, you know, people are treated and trying, you know, it's very, you know, it's interesting because it doesn't feel like things have changed really that much in those 45 years as far as that stuff goes. I mean, there's still you know, still places in the States where they have the death penalty. There's still places where, you know, and there's still cases where people who turn out to be innocent are on death row too, which is still something which is, you know, happening constantly too.
I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing we don't hear much about these days is youth gang crime. That doesn't appear to be something that is highlighted as an issue. It's as far as I know, at least, we're never dealing with youth rebellion these days.
You know, I feel like you know, it's one of those things like these things go through phases. I mean, they find like, I mean, for instance, there was like a case like maybe a couple of years ago where there was these kids playing this thing called a knockout game. Did you hear about this?
I didn't.
No, a knockout game where basically they just go up to people and they punch them so hard that they knock them to the ground. And like a lot of these people got like would hit their head and get a concussion. It was really, people were really, a few people died from it. And it was basically a group of kids just going around saying, you know, punching people for the hell of it. And for a while it was really scary because it was all over the news and people were going like all over the news and there was all these videos. And now you don't hear anything about it. And it's just like, well, what happened? Did it stop, or did it just like the news just get bored of covering it, or and so now you're kind of just sitting there like, well, would you have to be careful for these kids, or what? I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, but I know for a while that people were really getting freaked out about it. It's like, well, you see a group of kids, like you gotta get away from them fast because it could be, you know, and then that's exactly. It was only a couple of years ago, so it's not like, you know, this is exactly what, you know, they've been talking about over the years. And then of course there's other places which have a lot more gang crime, but even that seems to not get reported very much these days. It's very like. Again, I just don't see it not happening anymore. Just like the news gets bored of it and just stops covering it.
Well, not to get overly political in this
discussion.
I guess so, that's true. But obviously, what is reported on is always based on an issue and a political agenda that needs to be pushed as far as a problem we can fix. In the time that you're talking about, in the 70s, well, right in the early 70s when the film came out, youth crime was the issue. It was an issue of rebellion. It was an issue of these young, damaged minds that hopefully we can reprogram, we can save them, and all of this crap. I report on just what I heard at the time. I wasn't alive at the time, unfortunately, but it's no different than the first kind of moral outrage that I do remember in the mid to late 80s, when we started dealing with the the abused children, like the sex paedophile rings disguised as teachers, all that hysteria that was going on at the time. Satanists how they're going to recover of nurseries and schools and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. Satanic cults aren't really. They haven't really reported on any satanic cults lately either. That's like another hot topic which news kind of gloms onto and then forgets about, I guess.
I think it's a good thing in terms of A Clockwork Orange because it does allow us to focus on what we should for the film. You were talking before, Edward, about the violence that is shown versus what is not shown, and it is something that people tend to forget. But the young woman who is has been kidnapped, and she's in this dilapidated theatre, and she's about to be raped by Billy Boy and his droogs, if that's what you'd call them. And actually, she gets away because Alex and his droogs show up. They kind of rescue her. And that's not the intention, but that is exactly what happens. And I find that, for me, with the exception, of course, of the actual rape scene, the rest of the violence, which is intentionally made to feel the audience complicit in, it is not only so, and I'm going to use this word specifically, deliciously directed, but it is funny when Alex and the Droogs are walking across the bank of the Thames by the river after his Droogs have tried to usurp him, and they have no idea what's coming, and then in wonderful slow motion he whaps one of them in in the yard block hose, and he falls into the river. And then I love the image of Dim with his chain trying to get Alex, and then Alex just ducks, and then Dim falls into the river and then slices his arm open. I remember the first time I saw it. It's my favourite scene in the film because I am laughing hysterically through it, and it's also the moment of clarity where I realise that I am complicit in it, that I am actually laughing at the pain of these people who are really, really sad and pathetic in a lot of ways, and I am totally on the side of this master manipulator, this really, really evil demonic child, and I feel unclean, kind of. I mean, do you have a favourite actual scene in the film, cliche as that question is?
I don't know. I mean, I think the singing. I mean, I have to say, I think the singing in the rain scene might be the most. It's funny because I just went to Radio City with my mother last week, and they did a number, a Singing in the Rain number, and I wasn't thinking, hey, they're doing the song from Singing in the Rain. I thought, hey, they're doing the song from A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
So that's like how much they had an impact. But the funny thing is, like, I kind of wish I could find a copy of the Mad Magazine version of it, because you can only imagine if you think it's funny now, if you find humor in the movie as it is, imagine reading a Mad Magazine version of it first, and kind of seeing like, oh, there's that scene from that. Now they're showing the scene from the Mad Magazine part, and it's not really as funny as it was when I read it in Mad Magazine, where there were all sorts of like jokes and stuff like that. I don't know if you ever read Mad Magazine, but it always had very specific type of satire, which was, I don't know.
No, I can imagine it in my head. I've read a couple of I've read their Superman parodies for all the Superman movies that they did, but I had no idea they had the gall to tackle A Clockwork Orange. That was unknown to me.
Yeah, they were back in the 70s. They were pretty edgy. I mean, they really were pretty edgy, and even though they didn't have any real nudity or any like swearing, they still found a way. I mean, they were, and then like back in the 70s, everyone who did comics was smoking pot, and no, seriously, it's like, so I'm sure they were like, yeah, we can get away. They could pretty much get away with murder back then. So that was I gotta find that. But it's funny. I'm looking at my little notes from what I saw. I watched this again a couple weeks ago, and one of my notes is women had great breasts back in the 70s. So
yes, great, awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not going to deny it.
for all those intelligent political conversations we're having, I mean, that was one of the things I got out of the movie. That women.
I'm going to confess, when Alex is reading the Bible and imagining his version in his head, which skips all the talky bits and just has all the blood, violence, and death and sex, and there's that bit where he's sitting in the tents with those three lovely ladies feeding him grapes and massaging his body and stuff. And it's true, when I saw it a couple of weeks ago, I noticed the girl on his right and I said, that girl has great tits. She does. I completely agree with you. We are complicit in the breast admiration. I don't know if Stanley would like us saying that, but it is.
But also when I first saw it, I mean, I don't know what age you were, but I was like 15, 16, so it's not like I had seen that many. I mean, actually that's not true, because when I watched Monty Python when I was 10, and that had full nudity on it like constantly. So, but still, I'm sure both those things had a big influence on my teen years.
Monty Python never had death by phallus. I can tell you that much.
That is true. That is true.
In fact, I remember when I did my film studies course that was the scene that they showed. I still don't know why they showed it. I think they were just trying to lighten the mood, because it was viewed to us as a comedy scene. Alex presses down this delicate piece of art, which then starts becoming erect all by itself. It's just a piece of plaster, but it's actually a lovely piece of art. It suddenly starts rocking and becoming erect by itself, and Alex kind of just follows it along as it bobs up and down. And I remember the audience was in complete hysterics and completely oblivious to the fact that they were watching this home invasion and this murder scene. And you do feel that way. Well, maybe you don't even clock onto it, but you feel that way all through the film. You are just on this guy's side, and then you feel bad about it at the end. And I do feel bad. And
so you first saw it with an audience? That was your first time you saw it with an audience?
No, but it was no, I did see it first on home video when it was re-released back in the UK.
Gotcha, okay.
About 99. But I remember that the only time I've ever seen it with other people, because I've only ever seen it alone, but the only time I've ever seen it with other people, they showed that scene, the death of the Catwoman, and people were just on the floor laughing. I'd love to see this film with an audience. I really would. I'd love to see the reaction it gets. I imagine it wouldn't be too dissimilar. I think it would be viewed as a black comedy of sorts, which I'm kind of comfortable with. I like the fact that people can, not treat it so seriously. I hate when we treat movies that seriously, because it is a fable in a lot of ways. There is that one section we talked about where the way that the government would deal in a black and white way with the problem of crime. That is the message there, and that is important, and we should take away the fact that is strangely prophetic. But for the most part, I do just look at it as this dystopian fable with a wonderful sense of humour, and I don't know if Stanley will like me saying it, but it's the most human film he's ever made, I think.
Yeah.
I find
a lot of people, it's funny because I think everyone gives him a lot of credit for 2001, and rightfully so, but I think this was a much better movie in general, because it had, because it was something which you'd watch multiple times, get different things out of it, very, very subtle type things. Yeah, I think Clockwork Orange, some people just don't give it the credit it deserves, I think.
I agree. I still think it deserves to be seen. I still think it deserves to be talked about. It's Ed Pick of the Week. Please, guys, pick it up. I got it on Blu-ray after Ed picked this thing. I got it for $5. I don't know how cheap it is in your country, but I imagine you can get a great deal on it. It's a fantastic film. Do you know what's best about it, folks? They've still preserved, when the film starts, I get really hung up, Ed. I don't know about you, but when I see an old film, I like to see it in its original presentation with the old logo on it too.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And when the Blu-ray for A Clockwork Orange starts, I was so happy to see it's obviously you don't get a logo, you just get this blood red screen, and Wendy Corliss's hypnotic score starts to play, and this little lettering just comes up saying Warner Brothers, a Kinney company. Now, for those who don't know, days of yore, Warner Brothers was owned by Kinney Shoes, a shoe company, and I thought that you couldn't actually, for corporate reasons, legal reasons, you can't even refer to that anymore. Like, you've got to put the modern Warner Brothers logo on, which I fucking hate. But they do it for Clockwork Orange, so first I felt nostalgia, and then I just fell in love with it all over again.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's funny, because I watched it last time I watched it was on digital download, And it still had, I still feel it had that kind of film quality. I think it still has this look to it, which is so, like, distinctive, which is like, you know, and it's you know, I'd love to see it on film again, see it in theater. I mean, it's like, honestly, I don't even know if I've ever seen it on a film with an audience before. I don't think I have. I know I've seen Brazil a bunch of times that way, but I don't think I've seen The Clockwork Orange. I don't know why, but...
Well, when it is playing, let me know, because I want to see it too. We'll see it together. And you're invited too, folks. We'll all come along.
Everyone come along.
Hey, awesome. Thank you very much for choosing it, Ed. It was a great pleasure to see it again.
Great talking to you again. Yeah.
Thank you. So, folks, another week, summer, what is it, like 2 weeks down, 12 to go? I don't know where we are into the summer, really. All I know is that now, what I've heard, I'm not looking forward to next week. I'm really not. You know, I've not heard that Tomorrowland is very, very good, and that is going to hurt me just a little bit. I'm not going to say break my heart, but that's going to suck for me. And then I took Mum to see Mad Max, and she said the weirdest thing, something I've not heard anyone say up to this point. She said, I really want to see San Andreas. Who says that? Who says that? I don't get it. And you know what it is, folks? And I told her this, and it's so weird because you'd expect it to be the flip. You'd expect it to be Mum telling this to me. But I said to her, Mum, you know what it is? And I'm getting this impression just from the trailer, but disaster movies don't have balls anymore. Not that they make them, but, you know, I've watched a lot of disaster movies. The only one I haven't seen in its entirety is Earthquake. But very recently I saw 15 minutes of Earthquake on YouTube, and it was a compilation highlights reel of all the best bits. And I gotta tell you guys, the bodies hit the fucking floor in that movie. Well, the rubber bodies hit the floor, but the bodies hit the floor nonetheless. And I just feel like no one's gonna die in San Andreas. Maybe one person will make a heroic sacrifice, I don't know. But, you know, everyone's just getting cuts and bruises. It's bullshit, you know? If you're going to make a disaster movie, you kill people. You kill famous people, and lots of them.
That was the idea. Yeah, kill them graphically. The problem is you see a movie with like Dwayne Johnson. I mean, he looks, again, it's this issue of he's such a Superman in terms of his physicality, and also his personality, frankly, that to see him play humans kind of, it's almost laughable. You're like, dude, stop. There was a Got Milk commercial where he can't save the day because he's got to get milk for his little daughter and her little friends. And all these things are happening, and he has to get the milk, and then finally he gets the milk, and then he says, all right, now I have to go to work, and he starts punching aliens and jumps off screen. And that is Dwayne Johnson as a character. And it's amazing to me that no one's really done that movie yet. Like, I'm not saying literally that Got Milk commercial, but that take on Johnson, because he is a superhero, right? And why hasn't he been made one? If there's any, and I am so tired of superheroes, but if he became one, I would watch that movie because they would utilize him well.
Well, he is doing like Shazam, right? That's not just an idle post.
Yeah, sure he is.
Really? Okay.
He's been attached to that thing for like 8 years, dude. I was writing for Screen Rant when he was attached to that thing. That's how long ago he was attached to this.
That's the trend with Dwayne. He's been attached to a lot of things. He's like the Del Toro of actors, you know. He gets attached to a billion things and only like one slips through.
Well, a lot of filmmakers and actors are attached to projects that they just never like publicly talk about them. That's what's annoying to me about Del Toro is like they make a big press release about every single one of them. And it's like, guys, maybe 10% of these will get made.
May I end the show on a controversial viewpoint? Well, I don't know if it's controversial. Certainly, I was talking to Elisabeth and Spencer about this very thing off air, and we all agreed. I don't think Crimson Peak looks that good.
I liked the first trailer a lot. I wasn't a huge fan of the second trailer. I think it looks gorgeous visually. But yeah, the first trailer made me very enthusiastic about it. The second trailer kind of made me pull back a little bit, like, we'll see.
So are they intentionally going for like a hammer thing, right? Is that the point?
It doesn't matter, but well, even if they are, they're ruining it by having the villain be the most overused ghost in all cinema, the black goo. I mean, I'm fucking sick of the black goo. Poltergeist seems to have black goo as the villain, I noticed in one of the trailers.
Because it's easy to do with CGI.
That's no excuse. Oh, are we celebrating complacency now in our horror stories? Fuck black goo. I'm going to make that hashtag. Fuck black goo.
That's a t-shirt.
Oh, well, moving on. Well, folks, next episode, I believe we probably will talk about Tomorrowland, and even if I'm heartbroken, we will have something bad for you because I'm pretty sure by the time that we do the next episode, I will have seen The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened.
Oh, nice.
And I can't wait to tell you all about it, especially since I donated $400 to getting it made. So I'm very, very happy to see if my investment paid off.
And as we close on this...
Imagine the next episode just opening with Phil saying, "Hi, people. Welcome to Movie Moan. I've had a shitty week." And the podcast just ends.
I don't think so. Dude,
we're going to end this podcast with us trying to think of how Nicolas Cage sounds as Clark Kent, because apparently they have test footage of him as Clark Kent. And that's amazing. Like,
"Oh, Lois, you were here. Superman was here while I was gone. How does it always happen?"
That's like the holy grail of footage, isn't it?
"This looks like a job for Superman."
Is it really worth risking your life over 2 credit cards, a hairbrush, and a lipstick? That kind of thing. I can't do the voice. It's more about the cadence.
Kent, you know what you need? Humility.
Lois, for the first time in my life, everything's clear. And he just...
"You're not the man I fell in love with."
"I know, Lois. I wish he was here right now."
No, he'd do like he'd do like the dance he does at the beginning of Face Off as the priest. Like he'd do that as he'd go into the diner, just like that. Woo!
Yeah, he'd do that and go,
"Woo! I didn't realize garbage ate other garbage.
I'm ready for the big man, babe." Yeah, I love Face Off.
I was going to say, that better not be slagging Face Off.
Absolutely not, no. And I hope it's not cool to slag off Face Off now.
We're not going to slag Con Air either. I was listening to How Did This Get Made, and the goddamn writer of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was bad-mouthed again. And I thought, look at yourself in the mirror.
Well, considering his resume is Abraham
go
Lincoln
back and insult someone else's work.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah, and Dark Shadows, thank you. And then go home.
And Beetlejuice 2.
Oh God, that's right.
Is that the one where he goes to Hawaii?
No, that was many years before. They almost made that movie, actually.
I know. Oh well, folks.
What other lines are there? I'm trying to think real quick so we can just drag this out, because there's so many great lines that we could use of Nicolas Cage as Clark Kent. Like, what other lines are there? Excuse me. Whatever speech he gives to Macy in Superman 4.
Oh yeah. The people of this city depend on us, and we can't let them down. Excuse me.
That's right. Excuse me. That's right. Oh man, there's so much. Like, see, you can imagine Nicolas Cage holding a meeting at the fake UN.
Yeah.
And then everyone just like suddenly being there.
For many years, I've been here as a visitor. Haha.
Nicolas Cage or Superman?
Yeah. Boom. Oh, we ain't going to top that, folks. So we will let you go at this point. You guys have a lovely 2 weeks. I hope one of the movies you see is really, really good. And that's all I could say. You guys have a lovely, lovely 2 weeks. We will see you very soon. You take care. May the balcony forever remain open.